Are we Thursday now?
Thursday. It is Thursday. And it's Thursday all day today, which is a surprise for some of
November
us.
21st.
Yes.
Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. I feel like I need to repeat that again.
Yeah.
From the right, left, center.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I got to take a moment of personal privilege.
Yeah,
we got a phone call.
Yeah, we did.
Nice
message.
And we get text messages too, all the time about this.
Oh, do
all right. From 10 a.m.
Some include curse words.
From 10 a.m. till 6 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
This station is all about what Donald Trump is planning to do and achieve. It's in support of him, all that stuff, which I like. And I tune in and tune out as I go about my day, and it's great.
I do as well.
It's great to listen to Charlie Kirk and the rest of them.
I think some of the listeners would be shocked how much time I actually spend listening to our hosts.
Larry Elder, great lineup. Mark Levin, wonderful.
I really enjoy Larry's program, honestly. There are times where I'm out doing that evening drive, and I find myself selling with Larry quite often. Also, there's that other station that competes against us sometimes, and the dude in the afternoon does a good job too. I enjoy what he's doing. So I find myself, stopping with him a lot of times too.
A lot of options. A lot of options on 710 KNUS to listen to great rallying cries in support of the work that our new president's going to be doing.
And then there's me.
And then for 4 hours in the morning. I think to their brilliance, they're like, you know what? Let's have a right, left, center dialogue.
Yeah.
And let's dive into these issues and go back and forth and talk about them. And Billy, you and I, since Monday, bro.
Yeah.
Have been going at it. Okay.
Yeah, we have. And the fun part is it's never personal. It's always this intellectual. And I've gone back and I've listened to a couple, and I've got to go back. I listened to just a tiny bit yesterday. I need a little bit more to go back and listen to it. But the conversations have been really good as far as the intellectual pugilism, the tussling of the ideas. And I understand that there are people out there, and there was the voice message that said, I need to be a cheerleader. And they're tired of this show and it not being a space where everything is hunky-dory and all the choices are great for Donald Trump, and she's bashing me. And I would get this a lot about the fact that I'm not nice to Donald Trump and everything else, and they get tired of it. And this is the question I have. And I know there are people right now listening in the audience that say, yes, absolutely, that person is giving voice to everything that I feel in my soul. And here's the base question that I have about that. Do you feel the mainstream media, the ABC, CBS, NBC, and even CNN, and of course, MSNBC, and I'll keep them out of that, but let's do CNN as well. Are they biased? Are they liberals? Are they pushing a narrative based on their worldview? And if you say yes, are you okay with that? Or is that what you're tired of? Are you rebelling against that? And that's why you seek out programming like what we have here on Salem. If that's true, if that is your perspective, that the liberal media, that mainstream media is so bent and all they're doing is carrying the water for the Democrats. And so you need to go out and find another media outlet because you're so disgusted with what they do. Why is the better alternative someone doing the same thing, but just for the people you want? And then the question I have intellectually is, if you are disgusted with a liberal bent inside of mainstream media, is it then okay for a conservative bent and to not ask questions about what's going on the conservative side of things? Because the issue for me is you're just repeating the same thing you're mad about. I don't necessarily mean that's better. It's like the person that you had in college that's like, oh man, I can't believe it. I've got to start cutting back. I've got to go from vodka to beer and pot. Like, hang on. I don't think we're actually addressing the entire issue that you're talking about here. And that's what I hear. I hear a lot of people going, yeah, at least I'm off of heroin. I'm only doing the cocaine now and a little bit of the crack. Hang on. Wait. You're switching one problem for the other. And I disagree with the premise that if you're mad when you think that the mainstream media isn't doing its job, that then the media that's doing its job is doing the same thing, but just telling you what you want to hear. That's what I don't understand. And our media used to be a platform where you heard divergent views and people would talk about it. And that's no longer the case anymore. Well, except for 4 hours in the morning.
What I love is the pattern breaking that takes place here, because there's nothing else like it. Totally unique.
Yeah,
right,
nothing else.
left, center. So I want to say it again. This for the next 4 hours. And I say it at the top of every hour. And I think we just kind of pass right through it.
Absolutely.
This is right, left, center. Your phone calls, your text messages, your voice are welcome here. We're not going to be pushing one agenda or the next, except for the truth, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
And here's the thing is, how many times when you're listening to those other cheerleading shows, how many times do you get a divergent view? How many times have those hosts or even the callers stopped and made you think? How many times have they challenged something that you have come to a conclusion on? And that's part of the human experience. That's part of the American experience. And neither one of us, as far as Jeff or I, are necessarily dogmatic. We are malleable in some of our beliefs.
Dogmatic.
And there are times I've gotten you to bend on some stuff, my friend, and I'm not on certain things. There's certain things I will draw a line on, but that's not the issue. The issue is the conversation. Yep. And I feel too much of our media has gotten afraid of the conversation. And I respect the listener that says, I don't necessarily always agree with Bill and I dislike it, but I question when you say that I shouldn't be allowed to have a voice here, because what can I possibly do to hurt your belief in the conservative movement? In fact, if I bring people into the fold that are thinking and we talk about it and Jeff is able to convince them of things, that's a win. I open the doors for the tent for a conversation, and I take aim at everybody. I've gone after Polis. I've gone after our Democrats in the state legislature. I've gone after the Democrats in the national legislature. I've gone after Mike Johnston. I've gone after city council members that all have D's behind their names. All of them. I've gone after Brittany Pedersen. We can have a long list of people that I have gone after that are Democrats.
Ian might have some problems with that.
Yeah,
if you went after Brittany Pedersen.
That is true. He would. But I think that her views on some things are absolutely clownish. But again, I'm an equal opportunity offender. But the issue for me is that if you think that the bias in the mainstream media is wrong and shouldn't be allowed, why then would you be okay with a bias in your own media? If that's the core problem,
That's an interesting question. And in light of that, phone lines are open 303-696-1971. Or text us on the Dan Kaplan slot text line. Of course, our friend Eric Manning missing no moment to jump in and start the text message.
Yeah,
good to hear from you, Eric.
It's great to hear from you, Eric. But the issue is, man, yesterday you made this big threat about calling in and telling me that I'm wrong and being able to prove me wrong. The one thing you're not able to do is dial those 10 numbers right over here. I'm holding the phone right here. I'm holding the receiver.
When Eric calls in. I like to hear his voice. He's got a good voice. Give us a call.
He doesn't. He won't call this show. He's been asked to
over and over
again.
I'm telling Eric.
I don't dislike him. I don't dislike him either. He has a deep, burning hatred of me.
720-819-5115.
And again, he said yesterday, for all the words that he has in text messages, and most of those words for our listeners are curse words. I cannot read the text messages on the air due to FCC rules that he sends to me directly. Yeah, because that's how he speaks.
8875. 1 out of 10 times Bill went after the Dems, but 9 out of 10 times he goes after the Republicans. Let's be honest.
I disagree that it's 9 out of 10. I do take aim more at the Republicans simply because what the conversation is on this on our station, and that's it. And so I went after Biden, I see some huge weaknesses in what the GOP and what Trump is doing. And the problem is, and I don't think, okay, let me explain this. I don't think you really understand. Some of you don't really understand the motivation is that I left the Republican Party. I want the Republican Party to return to what I fell in love with when I was 18 and I clicked that box. But y'all left me. Y'all have disowned me. So I've been unaffiliated for 20 years. I didn't go run and become a Democrat and a stupid liberal. No. So part of this conversation here is because I am hoping at some point the party that I fell in love with as a kid, that I fell in love with as a teenager in my 20s, will somehow return to the greatness that I know it can. And I will stand here and point out those warts as long as I possibly can in order to bring it back to greatness. Don't you and I, listener, want more representation for the GOP in Colorado? Yes. I can help make that happen. We don't get there by ignoring our warts, our faults, and our frailties. You may not like it, but I can help you get better.
More text messages already coming in. The bread man. I can appreciate the firing line style of the old Buckley debates. Just every now and then, the opposition moves from intellectual opposition to shtick, like with immigration and saying, we can't deport that many and we don't have the manpower. Just start with the criminals. It's not so hard. Make it a great day. Thanks, Breadman.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the
love
text.
it.
I like Breadman's text.
There you go. Breadman's a good one. All right. We've got a lot to kick off. You're never going to believe
you just
what
wait.
is about to happen in the city of Denver.
Yeah, just wait.
All right.
Speaking of me, being let's see how this works out.
Mayor Mike Johnston, adamant, he will not go along with mass deportations. Okay? To a wild point, to where he will station Denver Police Department at the county line to keep illegal immigrants out? No. Federal law enforcement officials out. Is this a call to war? Is he willing to use armed police officers? His words, at the county line to keep them out. He goes on. This will be a Tiananmen Square moment. Holy cow. He's willing to use Denver armed law enforcement, not against those that break the law, but against federal law enforcement officials. What is going on? We're going to get into this interview, wild interview coming down from Mayor Mike Johnston. But first, news and comment from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. What a fool. 26 and partly cloudy, the mayor. In Denver, expecting a high.
I wasn't sure who you were talking about, me or Bill or,
Usually me.
The bread man.
And by the way, Eric, we need you to call this morning. Come on, Eric. I want to hear you. I want to hear from you. 26 and partly cloudy. We're expecting a high of 54 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a Douglas County School District school bus driver has been fired after dropping off dozens of kids at the wrong stop on Monday. The driver allegedly dropped them off more than 2 miles away from the school and several miles away from where the children lived, leaving many stranded and abandoned on the side of the road. In a letter to parents, the school district said there was confusion from the substitute bus driver in charge of driving the route and that they are no longer employed with the district.
No.
Not good enough.
It's no, I mean, I read some other articles that this dude like deliberately passed up bus stops. The kids were yelling and screaming at him. The dude drives to a random location, just drops them off. We're so lucky this didn't get worse.
Absolutely.
And there's a dad. I will tell you, out of that 40, there's a dad who's going to give this guy a knuckle sandwich. Right? And they should.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine your kids essentially kidnapped by this guy? No. That's what he did. He kidnapped these people.
Wow. That's incredible. Horrific, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, talk about revenge. You want to see Billy. We were talking about this yesterday with the Lake and Riley case.
Yeah.
Imagine someone just took Billy's kids.
Oh, man.
And just drove somewhere and dropped them off.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have more than words. It's
I know there's going to be a dad. There's a dad in that group that's going to drop them.
Yeah, that happens to one of my kids. If that was my kids in that age group, etc. Let's just say that I'm going to be charged with more than a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Just put that out there.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm definitely behind bars. There's no doubt. Ukraine says Russia launched.
Oh, sorry, real quick. One more thing on this. Does
yeah.
anyone know a good DA in Douglas County?
I don't know.
Good
Good drop there.
Nice one,
Sure. That's a good
maybe George will give them a little bit of Western justice.
That'd be awesome. I love it. All right, so Ukraine says that Russia launched an intercontinental ballistic missile at the country on Thursday. A claim that's last night today, a claim that at least one Western official denies. The official told ABC News the missile aimed at the southeastern city of Dnipro was a regular ballistic missile. But the Ukrainian Air Force says it tracked the launch of an ICBM. The Justice Department wants a federal court to force Google to sell off its popular Chrome web browser as a part of an antitrust case. The request made Wednesday comes after a court ruled in August that the company holds a monopoly in the online search market. House Republicans have decided not to release an ethics report on sexual allegations lodged against former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Trump's nominee for AG has faced accusations of sexual misconduct, including allegedly having sex with a 17-year-old girl. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle had called for the report to be released. Republicans on the House ethics panel voted not to make their findings public. After the verdict was announced in the horrific and tragic Laken Riley murder, incoming border czar Tom Homan on Fox last night.
It could have been prevented. This young lady's dead. And I want every mayor, every governor of a sanctuary jurisdiction to listen to that tape, listen to this young girl fight for her life, fight for her breath, trying to survive, terrified. Think of I want you to understand what she went through. Like the 9-year-old boy, the 5-year-old boy in the back of the tractor trailer that I held, I found him dead, that baked to death. Mm-hmm. I thought about what the last hour of his life was like. You need to listen to this tape. And for those governors and mayors that are saying they're going to stop Tom Homan, they're going to stop President Trump, shame on you. Your responsibility is protect your communities. And that's what we want to do, is protect your community.
Are you listening, Mayor?
Preach, man.
Right?
That is
right?
exactly right.
Absolutely. And then we have ours.
I mean, I just can't believe, and we're going to get into this, but using the Denver Police Department, all right? All the power, all the resources, all the weaponry.
Ridiculous.
And rather than going after criminals,
yes,
you're going to use them against federal law enforcement agents. That's like, it's so backwards. It's crazy.
It is. It's evidently it's just a photo op to him. That's disgusting, gross. A new poll shows that most Democrats want Kamala Khan to be the party's presidential nominee in 2028. The poll found 41% of likely to keep on. I agree with you. Keep on doing what you're doing, Dems.
Not a chance that she's going to be there. I remember. I think I remember something similar to this after 12. And they're like, Mitt Romney will make another run, and then look at what we ended up in 16 with Donald Trump.
They're already dialed in on it, and they're not thinking about any other person. And the branding has. I don't see that happening. But let's see. Voters said that they would choose the Khan over Governor Gavin Newsom and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. They wrote John on here, but I think it's Josh, right? Josh.
Yes,
Shapiro.
that's correct.
Yep. Hold on one second. My computer just died. I had some really good stuff for you here. And I'm going to bring it back up right now. And let's see. Yeah. So that's what some Democratic voters are saying. And let's see. Ellen DeGeneres, she says that she is moving out of the country because of the election results. Her and her girlfriend, wife, whatever, they are moving to rural England. So congratulations.
Yep. Great memes
them.
Yesterday of Donald Trump doing the McDonald's wave out the window.
Yep.
Goodbye, Ellen.
Exactly. This is why I have. Yep. I think it's a morning of celebration. Ellen and family, her significant other, leaving
Hey,
Yes.
so long. See you, sucker. Bon voyage. Arrivederci. Later, loser. Goodbye. Good riddance. Peace out. Let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. Don't come back round here no more. Hasta vista.
Is gone. Okay, rural England. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplaceandpatio.com. Broncos quarterback Bo Nix named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's 25 in Glendale, 24 in Westminster, 26 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fair weather and high pressure will be in control here for a bit, so some nice weather here in the Front Range. Denver will see temperatures in the upper 50s to low to mid-60s today and tomorrow. A little bit deeper into the 60s Saturday, so above average temperatures, sunny to partly sunny skies, and nice weather for the next 3 days. Increasingly cloudy, cooler Sunday. Sunday night and the Monday could bring a chance of developing snow showers and colder. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
All right, let's kick it off this morning. And boy, have we text messages flowing in already. But I want to get to this. This was an article in the Denverite. How Denver's mayor is responding to Trump's threats to defund sanctuary cities. He says, we're not going to sell out those values to anyone. We're not going to be bullied into changing them. He wants to remain being a sanctuary city. But he's got some problems. Problem number one is that the Trump administration is likely going to cut off a lot of federal aid that the city relies upon for everything from housing to healthcare, those types of things, because the Trump administration is not going to support sanctuary cities, sanctuary states with federal dollars. They're voted in on a mandate to end this illegal immigration. And these cities and states are going to be stubborn. They're going to have to pay the price. And so those federal programs are going to be cut. They're already working through and anticipating what those could look like. And Mayor Mike Johnston wants to continue to practice his sanctuary city policy. So he's not going to require or allow Denver Police Department to check on the immigration status of anybody that's arrested. They're going to kind of keep that. Okay. And Los Angeles said they're essentially going to do the same thing. But what struck me in this, where I'm like, whoa, he's willing to push this to a level that I think is reckless. Okay. So he talks about the vast majority of law enforcement is local. Johnson is doubtful that federal forces would raid Colorado to round up immigrants, even if Trump tried to mount a national crackdown. So I think he's wrong about that, but he continues. I do not believe that our governor is going to let them use our Colorado National Guard at the state level, he said, unless they were planning on bringing National Guards mobilized from Texas or Alabama to come, and then uses the word invade Colorado. Not the 40,000 illegal immigrants that he's processed through Denver's sanctuary city policies, but National Guard from Texas or Alabama would be invading Colorado. He continues, I don't know where they would find the forces to begin to do that. And that seems to me like a very, very bad idea from start to finish that no reasonable American would support. It would be the use of National Guards for illegal immigrant roundups. The mayor also takes heart that the people of Denver, not just the administration, would likely resist a mass deportation effort from federal forces. More than us having DPD stationed at the county line to keep them out. What? Like that? Keep who out? Not illegal immigrants. National Guard, federal law enforcement officials. More than, and I want to get to the more in a second, but having DPD stationed at the county line, Denver county line, to keep them out. What is he willing to do?
It's a good question. And that statement, it sounds so hyperbolic. It sounds so much like it's not even a really good pro wrestling promo. It's not even really good there. I mean, that's what I feel is he's going that direction, that he's trying to make. And the statement about the Tiananmen Square thing is just,
which we're going to get to in a second. Yeah, right.
That is stupid. And he's just trying to, again, this for me is in part a cry for attention on pay attention to me and what I'm doing and how I'm being this freedom fighter, how I'm being this, this. For me, he's doing the same thing verbally as those climate activists that walk into the Louvre and throw paint on the Mona Lisa. That's what I see. Something that he's making a statement that is going to be broadly ineffectual is not something I feel that he has the ability to execute and is ridiculously dumb. And here's the thing is, one, he's saying he conflates it because he talks about law enforcement and volunteers. Excuse me? Volunteers? I'm sorry. But if you had, let's say, law enforcement from somewhere else, another jurisdiction, and they're trying to come in, and we can just say they're ICE coming in to execute some deportations. The volunteers are gonna do what? They can't attack the ICE agents because that becomes assault and becomes criminal charges. They're not going to be able to use arms in order to stop them. Are you going to do the little Red Rover thing and link you the arms and stand there?
Yes,
Red Rover,
I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
Okay, then you know what you're going to do? You're going to, it's going to take a little while, but here's the tactic.
You send the biggest guy to run as fast as you can.
That's part of it, but the other one is this, and this it's even less violent. Walk around the end of the freaking line. They're not going to create a human chain around all of Denver. That is physically impossible. Okay, they're blocking these 3 roads. Okay, fine. We're going to go to another road and come in. Who freaking cares? There's nothing they can do to execute it. And the last thing you're going to have is Denver police standing there and for any other law enforcement, and they're going to get into some sort of protracted fight? Is this like a scene from Anchorman now? They were going to just have the parking lot and various law enforcement agencies are going to come in and fight and like, wait, remember the rules, not in the face, not in the face.
I don't see DPD, the guys I know in DPD putting up with it. Yeah, go to the county line and keep National Guard out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And here's the thing, and we'll get to that in a sec because we'll talk about the National Guard. I did some research tangentially. I ran into something yesterday. Tom Homan said something yesterday that my assumptions about how he was going to use the military, and I think the larger assumptions of everybody else, are completely wrong. But we'll get to that in a sec. And if he's true about this, it might actually work. He might actually be using the military in the proper and correct way, just not in the way we've been imagining. I ran across it yesterday based on a statement he made and went, oh crap. Oh, hang on a sec here. And it's 2 words, but we'll talk about that in a sec after we make fun of Mike Johnston for being dumb, because this is so much fun.
Well, he continues with this. So in addition to having Denver Police Department stationed at the county line to keep them out, not the illegal immigrants, but federal law enforcement, you would have 50,000 Denverites there, Johnston said. It's like the Tiananmen Square moment with the rose and the gun, right? You'd have every one of those Highland moms who came out for the migrants, and you do not want to mess with them. Here's, like, Billy, I think you got a point that this is hyperbole, okay? But
Yeah.
we are going to have a conflict in this nation over mass deportations. And I'm interested to hear what Tom Homan said, what you found. But we are going to have a conflict. And I do hold Mayor Mike Johnston responsible if innocent people are out there trying to protest these mass deportations. And he's making the comparison to Tiananmen Square. Because we look upon that moment with the tank and that single man standing against the communist evil nation. And he's putting Americans, federal law enforcement, like our good friend John Fabricatori, who was here, in that category. You are like the communist Chinese government squashing human rights. And moms need to come out and stand against it. And if there's violence, I'm going to put that at the feet of guys like Mayor Mike Johnston that have stirred up these emotions, which I think are wrong.
Yeah, I think that he is trying to stir up those emotions. I think he's trying to create, I don't want to say a Black Lives Matter moment, but I think he wants to tap into that type of an idea and a feeling. And I think I have to, okay, I got to take a moment here. Hey, Mike Johnson. This is just a conversation between you and me. Okay?
Johnston.
We're gonna Johnson. Whatever.
One's we get the
speaker.
lovely job of having to delineate between
So
the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Mayor of Denver.
And I get issues with the Speaker of the House too. But Mayor Mike, let's cuddle up to the radio. Just you and me. We'll just speak outside of everybody else here. You understand the position you're taking is going to be difficult because of the things that have been experienced here in our city recently having to do with immigration. Your position is going to be very difficult when you compare it to something like Black Lives Matter, because the impact of forceful policing has been a more universal experience than the immigration struggles of people coming here. And the other thing I believe that you are miscalculating, just between you and me, my Mayor Mike, that you're miscalculating the fact that there are a lot of people in Denver and the metro area that are struggling right now. There are a lot of people that are having hard conversations about how to pay bills, how to buy a house, how are they going to get their kids to college, how they pay healthcare bills, and is this going to help them? I understand the idea of the increased labor and the immigrants contributing to our society. But do you understand, just between you and me, the difficulty that message has when the other citizens in your city are struggling? When this is the hill that you are going to die on, not on their cost of living, not on what it takes them to feed their family, not on their health care, not on their education, but this is where you want to make your Tiananmen Square moment. I think maybe you need to put down the soy latte. Maybe you need to get off the Peloton bike. Maybe you need to roll up the yoga mat and put the incense out over there on the table. And maybe go back and talk to somebody how to do a house cleansing and bring in that burning sage or whoever it is that's going to speak to the wind and change this, because this is a bad idea. This is not going to be something that is going to help you politically, because at the core, the people that are here voting for you, this is not an issue that is going to make their lives appreciably better right now for all the things they're struggling with. Again, this is just between you and me. We'll keep it quiet.
Let's put down the soy latte.
All right, back to you.
All
back
right.
to the rest of the show.
Text message is 6633. Faith saying DPD doesn't have enough police officers to help the citizens of Denver.
Correct.
With the day-to-day crimes of the city, yet Mike Johnston wants to do this. He's a shameless political self-promoter, always has been.
Yeah, at this point, I agree. Yeah, I cannot argue with that at all based on the position he's taking, which is nothing more than hyperbolic and stupid. And do we understand what Tiananmen Square is about? How is this the same thing?
That's a really good point.
How is this
really
even close?
Yeah.
If I was in a high school world history class, and someone pointed out that what happened at Tiananmen Square is tantamount to what's going on with the immigrants here, that kid should be slapped and sent out in the hall, maybe do a remedial exercise or something, or maybe fail the class. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I like it. All right, phone lines are starting to come in. I do want to talk to you about somebody that's not ridiculous, somebody that's great, somebody who would be my very first phone call if I was ever in a car accident. That's Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplis, he's the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan would have made a good priest, by the way. I got to ask him about that sometime. I went to seminary. Sometimes you go to seminary and then you go do other stuff, but you do and live your life with those values, and that's important. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. And get this, Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. Text message from 6823. Billy, you're doing the Bart's People voice.
Yes, I was intending that. Totally intending to. Yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I'm ripping off Bart's People, and I appreciate you catching the reference. Thank you.
All right, so Mayor Mike Johnston willing to use Denver police officers to stop illegal immigrants? No. Federal law enforcement officials. How's Donald Trump going to respond to that? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Kaplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is installing even more giant buoys in the Rio Grande to keep illegal migrants from crossing the river and coming into the country, saying we won't back down from our mission to deter and repel illegal immigration. The floating barrier was initially installed in 2023. However, the Biden-Harris administration decided to sue the state, trying to force Governor Abbott to remove the bright orange barrier. Abbott saying the federal government won't stop him from securing the southern border and protecting Americans across the nation. The U.S. Defense Chief says that the Biden-Harris administration will give Ukraine anti-personal landmines, which are basically mines that are made to target humans to help it slow Russia's advances. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's announcement marks Washington's second major aggressive policy shift in a week after its decision to let Ukraine use longer-range American missiles in attacks into Russia. The war has largely been going Moscow's way, with Russia's bigger army slowly pushing Ukraine's forces backward in the eastern Donetsk region. A State Department official said that the U.S. plans to cancel half of Ukraine's debt to the country. Meanwhile, the U.S. and some other Western countries temporarily closed their Kyiv embassies on Wednesday in response to the threat. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I am not making this up. The mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, said he is going to station Denver Police Department officials at the county line of Denver to keep them out, he says. Not illegal immigrants, federal law enforcement officials. Why is it that Democrats always want to start a civil war? Let's go to the phone line.
I'm not sure it's them always. I think there are a lot of people.
Well, they were in the first one. All right, let's go to Spencer, Castle Rock. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Can you hear me all right?
We gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to disclaimer this. This is me reading the tea leaves. Cities like San Francisco, Denver, Chicago, and New York, a vast portion of their state budget goes to paying government employee pension. Now, in the next few years, some of those pensions are expected to increase by as much as 8% because it's incentive to get people to work for the government. Because of this, they rely heavily on federal funds, especially during natural disasters, which is why FEMA is so important. Trump is not going to give them a Tiananmen Square moment. He's just going to cut the federal funding and watch them collapse under the weight of their own arrogance.
That would be clever. I think you're right there. That would be clever. Yeah, go ahead.
The second mass deportation starts, where are they all going to go?
As far as
sanctuary cities.
Oh, yeah.
Illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
They're going to flood to the sanctuary cities. What happened in Denver with homelessness? How in the hole are we with the cost of homelessness? 160. What was it again? So it's this is me reading the tea leaves, but this is what I honestly think is going to happen. And Trump talked about it throughout his first term. He threatened it all the time. And now the shackles of seeking a second term are removed.
Essentially, I mean, Spencer, I think you're making a great point. The argument being that these sanctuary cities and states are going to collapse under the weight of their own bad policies. And as people go there, they can't pay. They can't pay. That's exactly right. They're just running out of money. Spencer, absolutely great call.
I like that. And what I appreciate about what Spencer is saying there is in some ways it is the law of supply and demand.
Yeah.
If you demand or want to have a sanctuary city, then there is a supply out there. And if there are other ways, then that supply and demand can go back and forth. And I'd be curious how the funds, I think, rather than the pensions, I think Trump may go for things like road funding and infrastructure funding, stuff like that. It's a little bit easier than the pension requirements. But I think Spencer's hit that right on the head that if they lean into that supply and demand solution, may have something there.
All right. Mayor Mike Johnston, you might just get what you want. We'll continue up next. You choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
That was good. Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Well, Billy, every time we go out and hang out with the folks at the Canadian Live event, the one thing they always talk about.
Just Bill, shut up. Is that it? That's why we're here.
Is we love You Choose the News, and we don't like it when you move it around. So we keep it here.
Yes.
Let's give the people what they want.
Yes,
Bill.
a little bit of a bittersweet symphony that we're leaving that topic alone, but it is because we are doing everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News, scouring the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans, to play this fake radio news game show because nobody in charge has any idea that we are this irresponsible with our job duties. Yes, they don't wake up for about another 8 minutes, and so we are going to take full advantage, just like I did when my parents were not home, and that's a story for another day. Alrighty, now, Jeff has one of those too, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, gentlemen, Jeff Hunt and Blake Olson in the newsroom. Here are your choices this morning, sirs. Headline number 1, just like Michael Jackson and Tupac. Headline number 2, the Inigo Montoya rule. Headline number 3, scoreboard, pray, +3. And number 4, Bigfoot-style healthcare.
Oh, man, they're all so good. Let's go throwback to MJ, Michael Jackson, Tupac.
Oh, this is so in your alley. Okay, just like Michael Jackson and Tupac, we are going back in time with a hologram, but way back for this one. Specifically, all the way back to the birth of Christ. Yes, we now can have confession with AI Jesus. Yes, as part of a project called Deus in Machina, God in Machine, hosted at St. Peter's Church in Lucerne, visitors can give confession to an AI representation that is hologram Jesus Christ. This happens in Switzerland. It was created by computer scientists and theologians from Lucerne University in Applied Sciences and Arts. They are designing it to engage people in spiritual conversation, asking questions and offering advice. It draws its knowledge from the New Testament and various online religious sources, allowing it to provide responses based on Christian teachings.
All
yes,
right,
you too can visit AI
I got to
Jesus.
take a moment of personal theological privilege here
Yes,
to remind you that there is a priesthood of all believers, which means you can talk to Jesus directly. He's alive. He's not a hologram. And two,
Amen.
you have the Holy Spirit in your life, who is also God. You don't need a hologram for it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just saying that little Catholic Billy might have gotten some stern looks from the teachers in study when I was asking, but isn't he all around us? Why do I have to talk to the weird dude in the closet right there? That seems super creepy. I don't want to do it.
You see,
they said,
you have
you can
Protestant
sit,
leanings.
They said, you can sit in the hall for a while. I'm like, that's probably a good idea. Like, yeah, I know. I was keeping AI Jesus. You know that AI has gone wrong. Recently, it told the kid to kill himself. AI Jesus is like, yes, my son, I understand. And your penance is going to be 3 Hail Marys and suicide. Wait, hang on. This is not going to go well, but well. And we're trying to keep up. We're trying to keep God directly. We're trying to keep church cool. That's the problem here.
Exactly.
Yeah. All righty. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Inigo Montoya rule, scoreboard, pray +3, or Bigfoot style healthcare.
Scoreboard, pray +3.
Yeah, the scoreboard is pray +3. If we go to the scoreboard in Bay City, Michigan, they've just started their annual 16-day deer hunting season, and so far the deer are winning. 3 people in the last 48 hours have died of heart attacks while hunting in Bay City, Michigan. 2 of them while they were trying to drag their kill. The deers were so heavy that they had a heart attack because of the extra exertion they were not used to. The men were the ages 57, 65, and 83. Yeah, they said that this has never happened in this succession before.
Got to get in hunting shape.
Yes.
Got to get in hunting.
Exactly. And lifting the beer can doesn't count. As unfortunately found out. Yeah.
No,
Alrighty.
it doesn't help.
Final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Inigo Montoya rule or Bigfoot style healthcare?
Inigo Montoya.
The Inigo Montoya rule, which is, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Self-driving cars are safer than those driven by humans, they say, according to a study by the University of Central Florida, except when it's doing things like driving during dusk or dawn or when it's turning. In those places, it's 5 times more likely to hit anybody and everything that is in the way. So they come out with a study saying these cars are safer, except when it's doing the car stuff.
Right. Only during a very small moment of time.
That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. Back to you, sir.
All right, we'll continue. We're going to go talk about Ukraine. What's happening there? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K-Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights from the left, center, and right. You've tuned in to 710 KNUS, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson a little bit later in the hour. We'll talk with Steve Moore, the Ukraine Freedom Project. He's living over there. We've had him on before from Kyiv. What's it like? What is he really seeing? All that stuff. We'll get an update from him as things seem to be escalating towards hopefully a peace deal. My question to him and my question to everybody, why can't Joe Biden get a peace deal done now? Why does it require Donald Trump? So
I'm not sure it requires Donald Trump. For me,
that's a question too.
Yeah,
does it require him?
I dislike the idea of looking for the peace deal personally. That's where I am. I dislike it because it bothers me to my core that we are going to allow Russia to invade another sovereign country and then give them some of the land. I feel that's an encouragement of what they're doing, and I feel like it ends up being a win for Russia, and that Putin can talk about how he was able to get the mean, big, nasty U.S. to back down, how we weren't strong enough to support our ally. Look how soft they are when I threaten them, when I do this and show them the power and the might of Russia. They will always back down because America is weak. That's how I feel this is going to be interpreted and viewed on their side, and will be interpreted by China and everything else. And I got a real problem. And again, I'm a kid of the 80s. I got a real deep-seated problem with giving Russia the land of another sovereign territory. I got a real problem with that because of what I grew up under.
And, you know, I might be just a little bit later into the generation side where I go, ain't our country. And I'm sorry, but I'm tired after Afghanistan. And if Russia gets a little bit of land, sometimes compromises, or where both people walk away from the table a little frustrated, and we're not sending money anymore there, and we're not inching towards greater and greater war, so be it.
And the thing I've got with that, the problem is, what if it's the idea that, well, it's not our land, we're not sending the money, we're not putting the risk in. So should we allow Putin to reassemble the USSR? That's part of his goal, because none of that is our land. None of that. We wouldn't have to spend any money. We wouldn't have to send any troops, but we could just say, here, have all these countries back, and you now have the Soviet Union again. I mean, is that really the goal? Because that's when I hear you saying things like, it's not our land, we're not going to get involved. That's what I hear. And again, this is because of my worldview when I grew up, and I'm not certain that it's necessarily fair for you and your worldview, and that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about it because that's what I hear.
I know he said that.
Yeah.
I know that maybe he wants it, but I'm not sure we're going to see the resurrection of the USSR over again.
But did your position just allow him to do that? Did you give him permission based on your permission? And that's what I'm curious about, is everybody saying that's not our land, and everyone that shares your worldview. Are we in fact giving Putin permission?
To me, it seems
put that back together?
Hyperbole to go, well, he's going to get a little bit of land. Ergo, we're allowing him to rebuild the USSR. And I just am like,
I can see that.
To me, that just seems like a leap.
What if
and if he continues to do it, well, then we'll have to address it then.
But
we'll have to take the land back from him.
But what if he does? And he goes to the next one. Can't we make the same argument that you made right now about it's not our land, it's not our, so that's where I'm curious about, and that's where the conversation kind of lives for me, is that how much is he allowed to take? What part of it? And that's why I think it's easier for the conversation to just talk about reassembling the USSR. And so if we're allowing him to take this land, why would we not allow him to take the next land, and the land after that, and the land after that? Because I still think that Barack Obama made a horrendous mistake by not responding to Crimea. A horrendous international policy, foreign policy, just mistake that is on par with very, very few. I would put, in all honesty, Barack Obama letting Russia have Crimea as a higher mistake than our bungled withdrawal from Afghanistan. I can see reasons, and I can see why Afghanistan, and I can point to the issues there. I see no reasons why we allowed Russia to just have Crimea and go, get used to it. And that's what I'm seeing, is here a couple of years later, we're now willing to give him more territory. So when does it stop? And it's like, if the core is, we're not going to spend the money, our troops aren't over there, and it's not our land, then Soviet Union.
And to me, that seems like a reach. So we'll ask Stephen more about this from the Ukraine Freedom Project in a second. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 27 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 54 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, evidently the horrific Lake and Riley tragedy is not enough for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston. You heard Jeff and Billy talk about it last hour, how he wants to grandstand and prevent the federal government from doing what they need to do in the deportation process. Maybe incoming border czar Tom Homan can change his mind. Homan on Fox News last night.
It could have been prevented. This young lady's dead. And I want every mayor, every governor of a sanctuary jurisdiction to listen to that tape, listen to this young girl fight for her life, fight for her breath, trying to survive, terrified. Think of I want you to understand what she went through. Like the 9-year-old boy, the 5-year-old boy in the back of the tractor trailer that I held, I found him dead, baked to death. Mm-hmm. I thought about what the last hour of his life was like. You need to listen to this tape. And for those governors and mayors that are saying they're going to stop Tom Homan, they're going to stop President Trump, shame on you. Your responsibility is to protect your communities. And that's what we want to do, is protect your community.
You listening, Mayor, Governor? A Republican House member from Florida calls allegations against DJT's pick for AG lies and part of a smear campaign. Pinellas County Representative Anna Polina Luna compares the allegations that Matt Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old girl to those raised during the nomination of a Supreme Court justice.
So what you're finding now is the same thing that they did to Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Is there these conveniently timed anonymous sources that are reporting things, and I'm hoping that these senators who largely depended on President Trump's coattails to get elected will do the right thing, give Representative Gaetz a fair shot at the confirmation.
Federal prosecutors declined to press charges against Gaetz after their own investigation. Luna says she thinks Trump's influence will get Gaetz confirmed. The Douglas County School District bus driver who dropped kids off at the wrong location has been fired. The driver allegedly dropped them off more than 2 miles away from the school and several miles away from where the children lived, leaving many stranded and abandoned on the side of the road. In a letter to parents, the school district said that there was confusion from the substitute bus driver in charge of driving the route and that they are no longer employed with the district. But I don't think that's going to be enough for a lot of the parents, if all. Ukraine says Russia launched an intercontinental ballistic missile at the country this morning. A claim at least one Western official denies. The official told ABC News the missile aimed at the southeastern city of Dnipro was a regular ballistic missile, but the Ukrainian Air Force says it tracked the launch of an ICBM. A new poll shows most Democrats want Kamala Khan to be the party's presidential nominee in 2028. The poll found 41% of likely Democratic voters say that they would choose the Khan over California Governor Gavin Newsom and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
That was Kamala Khan. I still don't understand that joke. Does one of us have to come out alive? Speaking of Ellen, she has moved to Great Britain and says that she is never coming back because Trump won.
Hey, so long. See you, sucker. Bon voyage. Arrivederci, later, loser. Goodbye. Good riddance. Peace out. Let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. Don't come back round here no more. Hasta visa. Kick rocks and get the hell out.
Yeah, you can get. Out of here.
See you later, Ellen. Enjoy Great Britain in your rural home there with your significant other.
If I ever move to Oklahoma or Texas, there's a lot of Democrats that are going to feel the same way about me. Get out of here.
That's right.
I remember one time my kids asked me, they're like, Dad, are you famous? I said, no, but I'm well known by every Democrat leader in the state of Colorado.
Oh, very
They
nice.
all know who I am.
That
but,
shows you how important
But the
you
average
are.
person, no, they don't. They don't.
That's
but
a good thing.
If I go to Oklahoma, they'll do the same thing. Get them out of here.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you guys were talking about the deportation thing and where they're going to go. I think a caller called up.
Texas.
I heard part of it. Yeah, Texas, right.
They have 1,400 acres down there.
1,400. No, that's awesome. I didn't know if you brought that up. I think that's great. Nice little landing place and place to get it done.
But that's the ones that are being processed out. But the caller's point was you're going to have illegal immigrants from Oklahoma and the rest of all the other places fleeing to these cities that are already debt ridden because they can't. And then as a result, they're going to continue to collapse. And you're going to watch. And to his point, Spencer's point from Castle Rock, Mayor Mike Johnston might actually get exactly what he wants, which is an entire city full of illegal immigrants.
No, you're right. Once they find out what he wants to do. And now 1,500 are coming from southern Mexico in a caravan trying to beat the inauguration. So they're trying to cross the border. More are coming right now. So, man. Nice job, Mayor. Broncos quarterback Bo Nix named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's 24 in Lone Tree, 26 in Wheat Ridge, 27 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Fair weather and high pressure will be in control here for a bit, so some nice weather here in the Front Range. Denver will see temperatures in the upper 50s to low to mid-60s today and tomorrow. A little bit deeper into the 60s Saturday, so above average temperatures, sunny to partly sunny skies, and nice weather for the next 3 days. Increasingly cloudy, cooler Sunday. Sunday night and the Monday could bring a chance of developing snow showers and colder. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Friend of the program, Stephen Moore of the Ukraine Freedom Project checks in from time to time to give us an update from actually Ukraine. What's happening there? He travels back and forth between the United States and Ukraine, but he has on-the-ground analysis of what's happening over there. Lots of headlines as we have about 60 days to a new presidential administration. What is he seeing? It seems like things are ramping up there. He joins us on the Jeff and Bill Show. Stephen, thanks so much for being on the program.
Yes, good morning.
Hey, always great to see you. I got to tell you, Bill was making me cold just looking at him just a few minutes ago. I don't know, maybe he needs to pay the heating bill. You guys need to pay that guy a little bit more. I don't know what's happening there, but that guy looks cold.
Oh, there's so many places we could start with Bill. So, Stephen, you've been seeing what's happening on the ground there. Lots of headlines, lots of reports. Things may be ramping up in light of a new administration. Give us your perspective.
Yeah, so this time last week I was about 10 miles away from the Russians. I was with some soldiers who were drone pilots, and so I spent some time with them. And so I've got a real flavor for what's happening right at the front. And let's start with this ICBM that hit Dnipro. This is. I hope they send more of those because those are really expensive missiles, man. They've got missiles that are a few $100,000 do just the same thing, but because they're trying to make a show of it, because they're trying to make us believe that they're going to throw nuclear weapons at us, they sent an ICBM, and those things cost about $15 million a pop. I've heard up to $80 million. So send more of those instead of the $500,000 missiles you usually send. And because the opportunity here is to bankrupt Russia. What's not being talked about a lot in the news is that it's a tough. Their inflation in Russia much more than ours, and they're not as wealthy as we are. So it's getting kind of tough over there. But they're in addition to these expensive missiles they're flinging around, they're paying their soldiers, like their entry-level soldiers paid twice what an E1 here in America is paid. So they're spending a lot of money on this war, and the price of oil just is not high enough to sustain it.
Talking with Stephen Moore of the Ukraine Freedom Project. So from your perspective, do you get the sense that Putin is really trying trying to make a show here that maybe there could be some peace negotiations in the next 60 days, trying to win land, essentially? What are your thoughts?
Well, Putin is a bully, and Putin respects strength, and he's testing President Trump. What he's doing is he's saying, hey, look, we might use nukes, and he's pressing on the front to try to take advantage of both the transition of power from a weak president to a strong president, and just to see what he can get away with Trump. So I don't think he respects President Trump as much as he needs to, because when Trump won the election, they've got their propagandists over there. They've got a whole propaganda network on their TV. Nothing makes it on TV without Putin's permission, and they were showing Melania Trump pictures of her scantily clad from her days as a model, and they were making fun of President Trump with those photos. It was not a gesture of respect. And so I think that Putin is just trying to figure out what he can get away with. And I live in Kyiv, and I spend most of my time there. And I'm super comfortable. Here's how I sleep at night. I have faith in God, and I have faith in Xi Jinping, because Xi Jinping has told Putin multiple times not to use nuclear weapons. And Putin is essentially a vassal of Xi Jinping. And so, what Xi Jinping says goes. And so I don't think that we're going to see the type of escalation that Putin's trying to telegraph.
I hope so. I think a lot of the American people want to see peace in the region. What's going to be necessary to achieve peace? Do you think it's possible to negotiate a peace?
Well, I mean, here's I think what Americans don't realize. There's peace. Okay, let's rephrase that. So, do you want a lasting peace, or do you want a ceasefire for a few months or a year or two? Because if you want a lasting peace, you're going to have to do something that lets Putin know that he can't get away with these things. Because Vladimir Putin is currently in violation of hundreds of peace treaties, ceasefires, international agreements, treaties, and with dozens of countries, including the United States of America. So there is not a reason that I can come up with, and no one's made a compelling case to me as to why Putin would honor any peace agreement that he would have right now. And he's not showing a lot of respect to President Trump. And so I think what you're going to have to do, if you want something that's going to last, and not something that's going to break down after months or a couple of years, you're going to have to make it so Putin can't do this again. And again, there has been this thing has been going on for 10 years, and there's been negotiated peace settlements that have not lasted. And so I think you've got to figure out how to keep Putin from doing this again. And one last thing is that China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are all working together. The first place that Hamas leadership went after October 7th? They went to Moscow to talk to Putin. Putin regularly holds summits of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, and all the other assorted cast of characters that are causing problems in Israel. And we're in a global war right now, and all of our adversaries are working together. And the only people taking action on that information is our adversaries. So we need to recognize that and recognize that this is all part of the global scene.
Talking with Stephen Moore, he's the president of the Ukraine Freedom Project. He's just back from Kyiv, gives us updates from time to time. So when you talk about making it painful enough on Vladimir Putin to not want to do this in the future, what does that look like in your mind?
Well, I think that he's, can't be rewarded for what he's doing. He's been at this 10 years, and he has only taken 17% of Ukraine in 10 years. And, when I first arrived in Ukraine, it was on day 5 of the war. I used to be a chief of staff in the U.S. House of Representatives to a Republican. And so I left that, and I had some time in my hands, and I went to Ukraine on day 5 of the war to help. And I've been trying to get good information back to Republicans, back to conservatives about what's going on in Ukraine. And so you've got to make sure that he's not rewarded. And I'll tell you this, in that 17% of Ukraine that's held by the Russians, the worst things in the world are happening. I think your people that are listening to you are people of faith. And let me tell you, Putin targets evangelical Christians. 4% of Russia, 4% of Ukraine identifies as evangelical Christian. And when a Russian soldier goes into a village and he meets a Baptist pastor, he says, "You're a Baptist. That's an American religion. You must be an agent of the American government." And he arrests the pastor and he tortures the pastor. Sometimes he kills the pastor. So, the people that have lived through the Soviet Union and have lived through Russian occupation of Ukraine say it's worse now for Christians than it has ever been in the Soviet Union. So you can't let Putin be rewarded for these things. We're in this because we had a weak president. President Biden showed weakness in his withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was chaos. And Putin kind of looked at that and said, Biden's not going to do anything to me. And he went into Ukraine. And what we have to avoid, because we're signaling with these these terrible leaders like Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un, we're signaling to them what we're going to do. And if we let Putin get away with it, that'll show weakness. And President Trump is not a weak president. So if he shows weakness, then it's just going to embolden the Iranian mullahs. It's going to embolden Xi Jinping, and we're going to have more instability in the world.
Stephen Moore, Ukrainian Freedom Project, joining Jeff and Bill live. I want to ask a question from the text messages that we got here. The texter refers back to NATO and says that Putin had said, "No NATO countries on my border because of the dance of Ukraine possibly entering NATO." They point to it and say, that's the issue. Do you agree that, one, that's the reason why Russia invaded Ukraine? Two, would you agree that Ukraine then should not be allowed, nor any other Russian border state, to enter NATO?
Well, that ship has sailed. There's already 9 NATO countries on the border of Russia and Ukraine. And you got to ask yourself, why did those countries join NATO? Is it like because of the great cocktails in the Officers Club in Brussels? No. Those are countries that are familiar with living under the Soviet boot. And the Russians have not changed. And, the reason that those countries join NATO is because Russia is still aggressive. And I'll give you an example of kind of what happened back in the 90s. I'm unfortunately old enough to remember that really well. And so in 1994, just 5 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Russians savagely crushed an independence movement in Chechnya. As many as 100,000 civilians died. And so if you're the Czech Republic, if you're Poland, if you're Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, you're looking at that and you're saying, I don't want that to happen here. Where do I sign up for NATO? And, if you look at the numbers as I have, these countries that border Russia are the folks, they're not like kicking back and saying, hey, thanks, Uncle Sam, for protecting us. No, so Estonia and Poland pay more for defense than the United States of America does on a percentage of GDP basis. These are the folks that are good partners in NATO. Spain, Italy, they are, Spain, they're kicking back sick and drinking sangria. And they're not really worried about the Russians because Spain is pretty far away from Russia. But if you're close to Russia, you are paying your dues into NATO and then some. So Vladimir Putin would like you to think that this is the reason he invaded, but here's some of the reasons he invaded. Okay, so they have a demographic problem. There's 170 million Russians right now. The projections are there'll be 120 million by the end of this century. So they're just not reproducing, and so they're invading Ukraine so they have more people. They've kidnapped tens of thousands of children, and they're sending some of those children as they age back to Ukraine to fight at the front. So Vladimir Putin, and think about it this way. I ask your listeners to go around their house, look at your stuff, like pick up your toaster, pick up your microwave, look at the bottom. Is there anything that says made in Russia? No, that's because Russia doesn't make anything. Russia digs oil out of the ground, natural gas out of the ground, they dig gold out of the ground, and they make weapons. The AK-47, the famous Russian-made rifle, is the most prolific weapon of mass destruction in the history of man. It's killed more people than any other weapon. And, so it's not like if there's a peace treaty, Putin's going to go back to making refrigerators. They don't make refrigerators. So they're spending 10% of their GDP on their war machine. And that's just what we can tell from the public records. It's probably more. And, by contrast, we spend less than 4%. So, so they are tooled up. They are building tanks. They're building missiles. And, they're going to do something with those. And if we have a peace treaty, we got to make sure that they're just not taking that time to continue to build more tanks, continue to build more missiles so they can start this all over again.
Stephen Moore, Ukrainian Freedom Project, joining Jeff and Bill. That is a wonderful response, and especially you're right about NATO. And there's no reason, I believe, to think that even if Putin said, hey, no NATO countries here, that like you outlined, that we would believe him to keep his word, because so far he hasn't honored the sovereign borders of Ukraine. Why would he honor sovereign borders of anywhere else? In the recent past, last couple of days, several conservative commentators have said that the U.S. is completely and totally wrong about Russia, that we need to have a good, productive, fruitful, friendship-style relationship, because that's not the world we live in anymore. Oddly enough, it gave me kind of a pause to go back to Barack Obama's advice to Mitt Romney, saying that Russia's not the thing anymore, that he's still living in the 80s. Do you agree with some of the conservative commentators right now saying that we need to be more friendly with Russia? We need to understand the good things that Putin brings to the country as far as stability and safety and economics, and the subways are clean, and so are the grocery stores, and they don't have the crime. That's kind of the argument being made. What do you think about that argument, that we need to be more friendly with Russia rather than being adversarial?
Well, it seems like Barack Obama tried that with Hillary Clinton coming over and, with her big red reset button. Is someone suggesting that Marco Rubio go to Russia with a big red reset button like Hillary Clinton did? Is that what you're hearing? Because that's what I'm hearing. Russia may have some nice grocery stores. Ukraine has nice grocery stores. I don't think that's a metric we should use as to how friendly or unfriendly we should be with a particular country. You look at Putin, and he has not honored any agreements. He pulled out of nuclear, the START treaty. He's pulled out of the START 2 treaty. He's pulled out. There's some deal being made about him changing his nuclear policy. His nuclear policy is whatever benefits him at the time. So, he is not an honest man. He's a KGB agent. He's been a KGB agent for all of his life. And these men are trained to lie. They're trained to manipulate. So, they have a big oil field and they have a big army. And that's about it. 25% of Russia does not have indoor plumbing. This is a country, and here's what I've figured out is, the bad people in the world are, North Korea, who cares, Kim Jong-un cares very little for human life. They've had famines over there all the time. You've got the Iranians and the Islamic extremists who encourage people to be suicide bombers. You've got China, who does terrible things to their ethnic minorities. They've killed millions, and then you've got Russia, who has killed something like 700,000 people in Ukraine because their strategy is just put people into the meat machine. I have friends at the front who are machine gunners, and they can't function anymore because they killed so many people that are just coming in waves, and many of them unarmed, only with shovels to dig trenches. So, we've got our adversaries, so the people that don't care about human life. And they're all working together. And that's the metric by which we should judge who our friends are. Do they care about human life?
Oh, that's scary. Stephen Moore, Ukraine Freedom Project. Final question for the Jeff and Bill show this morning. I think it's going to be our final one. I want a question about, we'll go back to where we started, the idea of launching missiles. Rather than looking at the Russian ICBMs, let's talk about the ATACMS that Biden recently allowed the Ukrainians to use offensively inside of Russia. We are hearing a narrative now that this is Joe Biden trying to get the U.S. into World War III in order to screw with Donald Trump. Do you feel that is a fair assessment? Why? Why not?
I looked at it the other day. There's a word feckless that means like completely incompetent. And it's actually on the rise in Google searches associated with Joe Biden's foreign policy. And, and Joe Biden has not gotten it right at all this entire time. What he's done is too little too late, because again, Putin respects strength. And every time Putin mentions the word nuclear weapons, Jake Sullivan, Biden's national security advisor, goes home and cries. And so I'm really interested to see a real president, a real strong president come in against Putin, because these ATACMS, they've got about 300-kilometer range, and they're actually not being used offensively. They're being used defensively because again, Russia is attacking, so you're using those defensively. They've only got about 50 of them left, according to what I've heard. So again, it's too little, too late. But he's essentially giving Putin a pass, because Putin would normally have to, the Ukrainians have to protect their rear lines, where they have logistics and where they have the people that are gathering to go to the front, and they have to expend resources to do that. Putin does not, because Joe Biden has made it so that he's prohibited the Ukrainians from using American weapons inside Russia. And so there's tens of thousands of Ukrainian civilians, children that have died that could have been prevented if the Ukrainians could have used U.S. weapons to attack the airfields that these missiles are coming in from. And so, Ukrainians, because Joe Biden's incompetence, have been fighting this war with at least one hand tied behind their back, maybe both hands, because we had what a lot of people don't know is that we had the dysfunction in Congress took about 6 months to get the bill to the floor and get it passed for the aid bill. Then it took another 7 months for the Biden administration to get the weapons to Ukraine. And, so they're not sending the weapons. They're not letting them use the weapons in a way in which they can be victorious. It sounds a lot like Vietnam. I'm sure you've got listeners here that are old enough to remember Vietnam. We're not fighting to win. And that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, not at all. It calls back things like Hamburger Hill, where you take the hill and then you got to give it right back, just because that's what you're told to do.
Yeah.
Stephen Moore, Ukrainian Freedom Project. Thank you so much for your time today. We could go another hour, but there are FCC rules about taking commercial breaks and advertisements and other things you got to do. We got to make the money, my friend. Thank you for your time today, and I want all of our listeners to check out UkrainianFreedomProject.org, UkrainianFreedomProject.org. Check them out. Give them some help if you can.
Let me add just one thing.
Yeah,
if I could, I've got a Substack.
Absolutely.
Stephen in Kiev at Substack.com. Substack is, I write about these things. If you want to see what it looks like, what I'm seeing at the front, Stephen in Kiev, KYIV, at Substack.com. So have a look at me.
I'll check it out later today. Thank you so much, Stephen Moore. Stay safe, and we hope to bring you back soon. Thank you, sir. Oh, that was good. That was really interesting as far as a deep dive, as far as what's going on there in Ukraine. Wish we could spend more time with him, but we need to move on. We're going to take your calls here in a sec. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. We can talk about Ukraine and Russia. We can talk about if we're going to World War III, or we can go back to Mayor Mike Johnston having his moment of hyperbole and wanting a Tiananmen Square moment. I'm wondering where he's going to get the roses. But I want to take a moment here to talk to you about, remember when you were a kid? And remember how mom and dad were telling you, hey, it's nap time. I had early on in school, we had organized nap time. Stupidest thing in the world. I laid there and I stared at the ceiling because I'm a young little kid.
Love nap time.
Oh, I hated it. It was a nightmare. I'm like, this is stupid. And all I wanted to do was to get up and run around. But now I get to the middle of the afternoon and I just want a nap. And part of that is because as you and I age, our hormone balance changes. Not unusual. You remember what it was like in your teenage years, and you remember what it's like just, well, yesterday. You can feel the difference in your body. I've got a group that can really help you out, Balance Wellspace. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. You've heard me talk about them, integrative medicine. They have a brand new office in Lowry right across from Hangar 2, plenty of parking, and they do great things like chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections. The difference is integrative medicine. They evaluate where you are physically, talk to you about your goals, put together a custom pain plan, and then they go to work. The difference is they check in with you every couple of weeks. You do a personal reevaluation and they reevaluate you too. So they are constantly monitoring your goals, your care, and getting you where you want to be. Your current medical care, they may be wonderful, but guess what? You're going all over town. They're never talking about you. The one doctor in that one office and the other doctor in that other office and the third doctor you're going to see, they're never on a conference call. They're never sitting down. They're never talking about you. But that is the regular at Balance Wellspace. That's what makes them different. Check them out, balancewellspace.com, and you have an opportunity to meet the staff and to get some information about hormone replacement therapy. This is coming up on December 3rd, Tuesday, 5 p.m., complimentary wine, cheese, and crackers. They're in a Lowry, easy to find. The best part about it is you're going to get to talk to them about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It's where they put the same hormones into your body that you have lost. So you're going to feel years younger. You're going to all of a sudden have that energy that you have been lacking. You're not going to be as grouchy. You're not going to wake up in the morning and go, didn't I just sleep 8 hours? Why do I feel like I need another 8 hours sleep? The best part about it is this is not something you're doing daily, weekly, and even monthly to a certain point. This is something that is occasional to balance you back out. I've had it done a couple of times, and it is simply remarkable. So while you're there, talk to them about the other stuff they can do. Right now, as you and I are talking, I'm regenerating the meniscus in my knee. My left knee feels fan-freaking-tastic. I was doing bar trivia last night, leaning on my knee, and it was another reminder of how good Balance Wellspace is when you allow them to go to work on you. Let them make the change in your life they've made in mine. Check out that open house, December 3rd, 5 p.m. You've got to contact them to reserve your space or just make a personal appointment to do a personal evaluation. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. And as always, tell them you heard about them on Jeff and Bill because it helps us out a ton when you refer to us. Appreciate
Great to hear that, Bill. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Anti-Trumper Rosie O'Donnell took to her TikTok account to condemn MSNBC co-host Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski's recent meeting with President Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. The former daytime talk show host insinuating that the hosts are hypocrites.
It's the last time I ever watched Morning Joe. Period. End of statement. For months you were telling us he's the worst thing that could happen to this country and democracy. And then you go kiss his ring. Despicable.
Target has reported sluggish sales and slumping profits in the fiscal third quarter as inflation-weary customers slowed down their spending on clothing and other non-essential items. The Minneapolis retailer fell short of Wall Street expectations for the quarter, and its profit and sales outlook for the final 3 months of the year also disappointed industry analysts. The company said that costs related to a U.S. dock workers' strike in October also dragged on Target's results at a time when Americans are spending more selectively. A parole board in South Carolina has unanimously ruled that Susan Smith should stay in prison 30 years after she was convicted of rolling her car into a lake and drowning her 2 young sons. Prosecutors say Smith killed her 3-year-old and 14-month-old sons because she thought they were the reason a wealthy man broke up with her.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K-Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. I wanted to address the thing that you said about Johnson and the putting the police and volunteers on the county line. Yeah. One of the things I don't believe that is like in the election this year and how it was overwhelmingly Trump. I don't believe that there is a real understanding of how Americans really feel about the invasion of the nation. Most of us, in other words, if we say anything negative about it, we are identified as being racist. And it's not that. I am for legal immigration.
Sure.
I have problems with illegal.
Well,
I'm
and I think
passionate about that.
There's two things here. One is the just simply obeying the law and how unfair all of this is to people that actually follow the process, right? Get in line, go through all this. Those are the types of people we want here because they love this country. They embrace its values. And so you have the unfairness of illegal immigration. And we've reached a tipping point too, because this has been happening for 30 years, Mary, where the cities
1986.
They don't have the
It's
money.
more than 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, these cities just don't have the money anymore. They've run out of it by welcoming all these illegal immigrants. And I think people are waking up to that.
And I'm delighted to see Trump talk about the getting rid of them as far as, and I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing these are asylum seekers. No, most of these people coming through are able-bodied working men. And I believe that what should happen with those family members, benefits under executive order by Trump get dropped. You do not, if you are not a citizen, you do not get welfare, housing, transportation, and all the other benefits right now that they are getting.
And those and it's important to remind people
what's the result
that
of
the
that?
money to pay for those comes from other taxpayers. So people
It's
that
federal
are,
money.
Yes.
But what
So
would be
it needs to be
Mary,
stopped.
What would be the result of that? What do you think would happen if Trump issued that
Hopefully
executive
they
order?
go back.
Why would they?
And
no, why? I'm curious. I'm just curious. Why would they go back?
because I think finally you're going to see that those like myself, you can't say anything. Like I said, I see them in line getting more groceries than I'm able to get because I don't get food stamps. I don't get the benefits from the government after I have been here for 80 years.
I understand.
And I'm watching them buy more, better quantity, the name brand labels where I have to buy great value. I'm sorry, I'm PO'd.
I hear what you're saying, but what I also hear latent in that is the one thing these immigrants can't have is happiness. What they can't do is be able to feed themselves. And what I'm saying by that is if you're going to cut off some of that assistance, they're probably not going home, because think about what that means as far as the trek to go back that direction. And they probably left because of whatever the conditions there were untenable for X, Y, or Z. So my guess is if you cut off all of their support, then it's going to be crime. They are incentivized rather than go home to commit crime.
Let's battle. Let's battle.
But that's
I'm ready to battle.
I know.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I want to find out. You're going to speak Spanish in line. I don't care what you speak at home. But this country has English as the common language for it to do commerce. And so if you don't want to speak that, get your butt out of here.
I like it, Mary. I like it. All right. We're just up against a break. Really appreciate it. The phone call, Mary's line will be open 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Fascinating conversation about all that. I mean, to Mary's point about English, the amount of money I saw this one time, I think was north of $20 million that the state of California has to spend to translate a voting guide into all the different languages.
Yeah. Okay, so again.
So
yeah,
really,
yeah. So
that's a lot of money.
I know, but I have my 18-year-old daughter works in a Cherry Creek Elementary School where they speak 31 separate languages.
So there's costs associated. That's what
31.
I'm saying. There's costs associated when you allow a whole lot of different languages if you don't have a dominant language.
But how do you necessarily enforce that? I mean, we have a dominant language. We have English. English is the dominant language in the country.
Right. I'm not saying you have
It
to write a
exists.
law, but you can say that this is
But it
the
already
official
exists.
language and this is, you should be expected to learn it. You're going to
And
come
then
to
what?
America, whether you're German, French, Hispanic, Venezuelan, doesn't matter. Chinese,
to me
you
that-
need to learn English. It's expected to learn the language.
To me, that sounds like the resolutions that we get from city councils. Like, we stand with this, where there's no enforcement. We can say, yay, but what's the practical application of that? There's no real practical application. We already have a dominant language, and that's English. And so passing anything at all
And the
isn't going to
expectation,
do anything.
the expectation is you should, to her point, you should learn it, speak it. Maybe it'll save us some money. Do you remember how much money the city or the state of Colorado, we had Barb Kirkmeyer on talking about this, how much money because of all these Hispanic kids coming in to the public schools. They have to hire all these translators.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Learn
Guess
the
what?
language.
I know. How? These kids are coming in public schools. Where are they going to learn the language? How are they going to learn language if you don't have the translators and you don't have the teachers? How are they going to do it? That's the thing is we seem to think that there is some sort of like magic hat you put on when you get into this country and all of a sudden you know language.
Parents.
But the parents are coming from somewhere else either. And so,
Right.
so are the
But
parents,
this is- I mean-
the parents are responsible for teaching the kids English if they come here.
Yes.
That's their responsibility?
Of course.
But what if they don't
If
know
I
English?
was moving my family to France, I would make sure we sat down and learned French. It's my responsibility as a parent to do that, to set my kids up for success. All right. We're going to continue this conversation. Plus, Social Security running out of money. What's Donald Trump going to do? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. You've tuned in to 710 KNUS on this Thursday, November 21st. It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole nother hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Go ahead, Billy.
Do you know the song? It's in the background. And I'm going to bring Blake Olson from the newsroom up on this one.
Co-pilots.
No, that's the tag here, but this is Blake. You got the song here, the Sammy Hagar song. You remember the I Can't Drive 60? I Can't Drive 55.
Yeah, I love that song.
You remember that one? Now, here's the thing. Sammy's had a conversation recently, and this was funny when we were talking about just Denver and problems and things earlier. Recently, Sammy Hagar shared how his impression of that song has changed completely now that he has gotten older. And originally, he's young, and it was about he's got these fast cars, and he wants to make sure to open up on the road, and he's got it. You cannot pull me down. You, man, are not going to tell me I can't go 55 in my car. I am going to do what I want. And now it's the lament of the old man, which is he's stuck in traffic and he never gets up past 40. He said that's what he's pissed about now. He's like, he goes, he says this song, he goes, when I'm young, it's about going as fast as I can. He goes, now it's a theme song of I'm always stuck in traffic. And I'm like, I can never get the car to 55. I can't go above 40 because all the people on the road. He was pissed about
that's
traffic.
Not right,
I
man.
know.
If there's one guy that needs to be going, fast, it's him.
Exactly. I just thought that was hilarious because the song was there. I just wanted to share that because all of us this morning and everyone out there on the roads commuting to work understands you can't drive 55 because, the traffic. Yeah. Okay. Back to our regularly scheduled program. I decided to realize that.
Well, after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with JD Tuccille of Reason. Social Security approaching its day of reckoning. Americans should plan for their futures rather than relying on a non-existent Social Security trust fund. What is happening there? Not good news. So we'll talk to JD in a second. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. And Billy, 29 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 54 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Stephen Moore, Ukraine Freedom Project, who goes back and forth to Ukraine from here in Colorado, on with the fellas last hour, and he talked about the intercontinental ballistic missile that was fired at Ukraine this morning, compliments of Russia. It was aimed at the southeastern city of Dnipro.
I hope they send more of those because those are really expensive missiles, man. They've got missiles that are a few $100,000 to do just the same thing, but because they're trying to make a show of it, because they're trying to make us believe that they're going to throw nuclear weapons at us, they sent an ICBM, and those things cost about $15 million a pop. I've heard up to $80 million. So send more of those instead of the $500,000 missiles you usually send. And because the opportunity here is to bankrupt Russia.
Interesting. One Western official denies that it was an ICBM. The House Ethics Committee's investigation into former Congressman Matt Gaetz will remain sealed. Pennsylvania Congresswoman Susan Wild, the panel's ranking Democrat, said the vote on whether to disclose the findings was split along party lines. DJT's pick for Attorney General has been accused of sexual misconduct and having sex with a 17-year-old girl. Representative Anna Paulina Luna says it's all a smear campaign.
So what you're finding now is the same thing that they did to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and there are these conveniently timed anonymous sources that are reporting things. And I'm hoping that these senators who largely depended on President Trump's coattails to get elected will do the right thing, give Representative Gaetz a fair shot at the confirmation.
And no surprise, Nikki Haley ripping Trump's picks, Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard. Evidently, the horrific Laken Riley tragedy is not enough for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston. He wants to grandstand and prevent the federal government from doing what they need to do when the deportation process begins. Could incoming border czar Tom Homan change his mind? On Fox last night.
It could have been prevented. This young lady's dead. And I want every mayor, every governor of a sanctuary jurisdiction to listen to that tape, listen to this young girl fight for her life, fight for her breath, trying to survive, terrified. Think of I want you to understand what she went through. Like the 9-year-old boy, the 5-year-old boy in the back of the tractor trailer that I held, I found him dead, that baked to death. Mm-hmm. I thought about what the last hour of his life was like. You need to listen to this tape. And for those governors and mayors that are saying they're going to stop Tom Homan, they're going to stop President Trump, shame on you. Your responsibility is protect your communities. And that's what we want to do, is protect your community.
Amen. The trial of the Aurora
Racist.
dentist. Yes. Yeah, he's such a racist.
I mean, that's all it's about, is protecting our communities.
Exactly.
I mean, a Hispanic family that wants to follow the rules comes here legally, deeply committed to their Catholic faith, lovely people. They make great neighbors. No one is talking about those types of people.
No.
We're talking about the people that come across the border illegally, jump ahead the line, don't follow the rules. And in the amount of 10 million people we've allowed to do that in this country, you've got some really bad people that are killing American citizens like Lake and Riley, and it's time for this to end.
300,000 children have not been found. That just is disgusting. It is so horrible. The trial of the Aurora dentist, James Craig, accused of poisoning and killing his wife, is set to get underway today. Jury selection in the trial is expected to be completed by next week. Opening statements are scheduled for December 2nd. The Douglas County School District bus driver who dropped kids off at the wrong location has been fired. The driver allegedly dropped them off more than 2 miles away from the school and several miles away from where the children lived, leaving many stranded and abandoned. And many of the parents are not going to put up with this.
Get the hell out of the state, man. Like, there are times where
no doubt,
you're done. We're gone. I get out of here, man. Once that name drops and what you did to those kids, not good,
man. What was going through?
There's got to be some type of
person's
criminal
mind.
prosecution. We should ask Sheriff
Absolutely.
Weekly about that.
Yeah, that is a great point. No, we need to find that out. Definitely. Scott Pressler going after the Bucks County, Pennsylvania commissioner. All that stuff going on in Bucks County after ongoing corruption during the election. He's not backing down, and neither were the conservatives.
Peacefully, we are coming for your seat in 2027. If you don't resign today,
Have at it.
I am coming for your seat peacefully.
Have at it.
And Harvey, Commissioner Harvey, this goes for you too. You are complicit. Mark Elias and his cronies must be disbarred from practicing law in Pennsylvania, any of his cronies, for the misconduct that they did. I want you to know that I am going to spend all of my time in Bucks County for the next 3 years, making sure that we take back this county. Thank you to every single patriot that showed up today.
That was a great speech, right on time. Hey, the best news of the day, Ellen DeGenerate. She says she's moved to England and she's never coming back.
Hey, so long. See you, sucker. Bon voyage. Arrivederci, later, loser. Goodbye. Good riddance. Peace out. Let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. Don't come back.
Get him out of here. Get out.
Get her.
Get him outta here.
Get Ellen out of here. Woohoo! It's a good day. Broncos quarterback Bo Nix named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. 25 in Castle Rock, 26 in Superior, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Thursday. And I'm Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fair weather and high pressure will be in control here for a bit, so some nice weather here in the Front Range. Denver will see temperatures in the upper 50s to low to mid-60s today and tomorrow. A little bit deeper into the 60s Saturday, so above average temperatures, sunny to partly sunny skies, and nice weather for the next 3 days. Increasingly cloudy, cooler Sunday. Sunday night and the Monday could bring a chance of developing snow showers and colder. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So Donald Trump, Doge, I guess is how you pronounce it. Correct? Doge.
It is Doge.
Not
yes.
Dodge. Dodge
No.
is a truck.
Yeah, it's Doge. It's Doge because it's a meme. So just let that sink in now that we are doing a fake government department that is based on a meme. And this is a completely and totally fake government department.
In the sense that it's not paid for by the government, and it doesn't have the power to actually cut anything.
So this
it
is
just
what
makes recommendations.
Yeah. So we've started a government entity that isn't getting paid by the government and has no ability to affect change. That's an imaginary department. that is imaginary. It's an imaginary department.
Church isn't paid by the government. Has lots of power to affect change?
No, the church has power to affect change. This department doesn't.
I think they will. I think they'll make recommendations.
How? But again, they have no mechanism. They can make recommendations all they want.
Congress.
No, but I know that's the issue.
What are you so upset about?
Oh no, I'm not upset. I'm just saying that this is a make-believe project. They're going to deliver a giant.
How is it a make-believe project just because the government doesn't fund it?
No, it's make-believe because what they're going to do is they're going to deliver a giant book report and they're going to hand it off to 500 people in Congress and then it will be ignored. It's exactly what's going to happen.
I disagree. I don't think it's going to be ignored.
Oh, yes, it will.
I think some of the stuff coming out on this, people are going to be like, no, there's going to be a mandate to cut that.
Remember how much all of our Congress people read as far as the Affordable Care Act? Yeah, sure.
We got to
give them something
first.
I know that's the issue. You're going to give them something the size of War and Peace and say, "Here, figure out what you like." No, there's no
you're
way.
Talking to the guys that own X, they're going to distill it down to 160 characters and all that good stuff.
Because X has worked out so well on that investment.
It is awesome, dude. X changed the direction of this country. If it wasn't for Elon Musk purchasing X, Kamala Harris would be our president right now.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Can we jump in the Wayback Machine and let's talk about what was it after 2020 election? Let's see. There was this guy. He has this social media site. Oh, yeah. Zuckerberg. Yeah. Did we talk about that as far as how Zuckerberg gave hundreds of millions to an organization to get out the vote? And that was election interference. That was untoward. And now we have a billionaire.
I don't think it's the money. I think it's how it was used.
But Zuckerberg didn't get to direct it at all. He didn't have any choice about it. So that's irrelevant. You can't blame Mark Zuckerberg for election interference based on he's not delineating where the money is.
I don't think that's true.
Yet we have a billionaire who takes his social media platform and in his own investments and becomes an arm of the Republican Party to get out the vote. And the Republicans go, yay! If Mark Zuckerberg had done that for the Democrats, they would be screaming and want his head on a pike. It's all about perspective.
No, it's not. It's all about how the money's used.
Yeah,
and in the case with Zuckerberg, they're putting all these ballot box drops, and all of a sudden Joe Biden gets 81 million votes.
Zuckerberg didn't put any of those things anywhere.
He
didn't have the direction. But Elon Musk
because
did.
He didn't get up
but
and put
Elon Musk
box down. He knew what that money was going for.
He does not get any control over that money. He didn't have any control over it. But Elon Musk used his money to control. I know, but now you're like, but it's okay when Elon does it. So it was bad for Zuckerberg.
How it was used.
I know, but it's bad for Zuckerberg to do it, but it's okay for Elon. That's the perspective. It's all about if you want the money used on your things, it's okay. It's just like the text messages here. If I say that Donald Trump is the wonderfulest boy in the world, I'm a hero. And if I point out failures, I'm an ass. Same thing. It's all about perspective.
It's not the same thing.
It's exactly the same.
If Elon Musk was engaging in the same type of ballot harvesting operations that Zuckerberg were doing with Zuckbucks, then maybe it'd be different.
Zuckerberg didn't engage in any ballot harvesting operations because that's not his organization. That's not his. But yet Elon Musk has an organization, his own super PAC that he funded and offered money for people to sign a petition and offered referrals for people to get people to register to vote. If Zuckerberg had done that exact same thing, you would want his head on a pike. It's just about perspective.
I disagree. I think it was different, but we're going to get to that because we have a guest coming up here. We're going to talk with JD Tuccille of Reason. He's got a new article out. Social Security approaches its day of reckoning. Americans should plan for their futures rather than relying on a non-existent Social Security trust fund. Here's what he writes. Social Security is very popular. It is very popular with Americans. Large majorities of Democrats and Republicans like the program and want it to continue with no cuts in benefits, no increase in costs to taxpayers, and no real reforms of any kind. Unfortunately, Social Security is and always has been a scam that is rapidly approaching collapse. Economists point out that something has to give if the program is to avoid catastrophe, and so do the trustees who run Social Security. If you go back to the very beginning of this, there's this kind of famous quote from, I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. It goes back, JD Tuccille goes back to how this all started, and even FDR recognizing that once he created this program, it was just straight politics. FDR, who was advised that basing Social Security on payroll taxes was unwise, replied this way: I guess you're right on the economics. They're politics all the way through. We put those payroll contributions there so as to give the contributors a legal, moral, and political right to collect their pensions and their unemployment benefits. With those taxes in there, no dang politician can ever scrap my Social Security program. Those taxes aren't a matter of economics. They're straight politics. Joining us is the author of this article, JD Tuccille of Reason. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show, JD.
Yeah, morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, not good news, huh, on Social Security?
No, it's not good news. And that quote you just read kind of is the root of a lot of this problem. This was a program that was created for political reasons. And by ignoring the politics, it baked in some enormous financial problems as time went on and as demographics changed. When Social Security was created, there was a big ratio of workers to people who were retired. And people also didn't live as long back then. The retirement age was set right around the life expectancy. So a lot of people who we would anticipate would collect weren't actually around to collect or didn't stick around that long afterwards. As time goes on, people live longer, and the ratio of workers to retirees has dropped. But by baking in this personal connection to the Social Security benefits, it's become very, very difficult to reform the system to recognize economic reality, to the point now where the system, Social Security, is not paying for itself anymore. It's running entirely on debt, has been for 14 years, and it's expected to go broke in 2033.
Now, there was a point when there was a Social Security surplus that was coming in, and our brilliant lawmakers decided to do what with that money?
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, what do politicians do when they see a source of money? They spend it. What happened was up until 2010, payroll taxes covered Social Security. So the surplus, the rest of the government borrowed. The so-called Social Security Trust Fund, we've been hearing those terms for years, right? The trust fund, there's no trust fund. There has never been a trust fund. It's always been pay as you go. And the federal government took that surplus money, borrowed it, and deposited IOUs, basically handed the Social Security an IOU for, we owe you this money back. So the money was spent. It was spent a long time ago. And as of 2010, the payroll taxes stopped covering the benefits paid by Social Security. So Social Security has been pulling back those IOUs and been cashing them in. The problem is that since payroll taxes no longer cover the benefits, and since they're cashing in those IOUs, at some point those IOUs run out. And those IOUs right now are projected to run out in less than 10 years.
Talking to JD Tuccille, he wrote a piece in Reason. Social Security approaches its day of reckoning. Okay, so and correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of remember this. You don't get into your article, but I think after George W. Bush's second victory in 2004, he went on like a road trip to try to take on the third rail, which has always been described as Social Security reform. And nothing really came of it, if I remember of that. Any effort by any politician to try to reform Social Security, if it was extending the age or making cuts to benefits or anything like that, it has never gotten anywhere. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. And this brings us back to FDR and his political attempt to connect people to their benefits, to make it impossible to change the system. He wanted this as a legacy. Well, it's going to be not just a legacy, but an albatross hanging around our necks, because people do feel a connection to those benefits. They also recognize that there's a problem. If you ask them, 2/3 in a recent survey told pollsters that they recognize that Social Security needs reform. But 69% of them said they don't want any cuts. 52% are against raising the retirement age. Remember, we live longer now, and so that's a lot more years to cover. And 44%, a plurality, opposed raising taxes. That doesn't leave a lot of room for the reform that people recognize is necessary. They feel a connection to those benefits, but they don't want anything to change. Now, what's tragic about this is that when people in the past have talked about, okay, what if we handed most people back responsibility for their retirement? People would do better. The Tax Foundation a few years ago ran an analysis on comparing Social Security benefits to what would happen if you were to take the same money that's been paid in payroll taxes, and people put that in 401ks or IRAs and save for their own retirement. And they found that in all but 4 out of the 400 cases that they analyzed across different ranges of income, people would do better saving for themselves. The 4 cases where Social Security turned out better were for the most lowest income, that is the very poor, which means that Social Security would probably work best as poor relief. Just keeping the people who are the lowest income out of poverty. Everybody else would actually have a more prosperous retirement if they were to save for themselves, and take a responsibility for their own old age.
Talking to JD Tuccille, a contributing editor at Reason Magazine. So, I don't know this. Can you opt out of paying into Social Security?
There have been different classes of people over the years who had different programs. At one point, Congress was allowed to opt out. They had their own pension system. I think they changed that finally. Railroad workers, there's a separate pension system for railroad workers. And I believe that clerics are allowed to opt out still, although that may have been changed. But basically, everybody else, the rest of us, the vast majority of Americans, no, we can't opt out of paying.
Yeah, because it's a Ponzi scheme, right? Like if there's no money going in, then we can't pay all the good people right now.
Well, that's just it. There's not enough tax money going in there to cover benefits. If people were allowed to opt out, they would have to change the system. It couldn't be a welfare program that pays for everybody. It would have to be something that was then retooled with higher retirement age, probably means testing, something that would really change the way the system functions. As it is, though, the only way it functions at all, and it's not functioning, it's going broke, is by making everybody pay into a system that at this point is probably not going to be there to pay our benefits, in the very short term.
JD Tuccille joining Jeff and Bill live. He writes for Reason. We're talking about his most recent article about Social Security and how it is going to go bust. And most of us listening to the program right now should not expect the majority of our benefits. Question I have for you, Mr. Tuccille, why do you think we have had a resistance to the reform, specifically, in my mind, one of the easiest, means testing? Why do you think we don't have the stomach to make the changes that are needed?
Because the system was designed to get us invested in the idea that this is a savings account for us. We were told there's a trust fund and that our payroll taxes are going into a trust fund and it's kind of being held and invested for us to pay us in our old age. The government was going to take care of us. We were supposed to feel this connection to these benefits. That's how the system was designed by FDR back in the day. It's just that it was a scam. It's not true. The money wants to pay for current beneficiaries. So if you're a 25-year-old and you're paying your payroll taxes on your job right now, that money's not being saved. It's paying for my mother's Social Security benefits right now, except that it's not enough to cover that. They still have to take money back from the federal government to cover the rest because it's no longer sufficient to cover the benefits. So the people are resistant because they feel this connection. They think this money is being held for them. It's not being held for them. It's gone. And the money that they collect or they hope to collect when they retire, that's going to have to come from their kids and their grandkids who are then working. And the problem is now, a big part of the problem is that birth rates have declined. The ratio of workers to retirees has dropped. We just don't have that many young people around working to pay for the people who are retiring now, especially since we're living longer. We're not dying in our 60s anymore. We're pushing 80 at this point with our life expectancy. Although many of us are still retiring as if we're going to expire in our 60s. That's going to have to change, or the system is really completely unsustainable.
JD Tuccille, Reason Magazine. Very blunt question. What's your idea on this one? Is retirement an outdated idea in the U.S. unless you're rich?
Retirement isn't necessarily outdated idea, but it's something we have to plan for. I mean, if you think about it, I don't think we should assume, okay, at some point in my old age, I'll stop working, and then for the next 15 years, I'll go to the beach or play golf. I think if you have to decide, what do I want to do with my life? If I enjoy work, maybe I don't retire until I'm no longer capable of doing it. If you don't enjoy work, if you're just working to get by, then you say, okay, how long do I want to do this for? And I've got to plan for that and put that money away to the side to plan so that I can stop working at my target date and have enough money to carry me through with leisure activities, in the years after that. But retirement isn't an automatic thing. I mean, and we kind of pretended for decades that it was, because before that, it wasn't an automatic thing either. We should have to think about it as individuals. Do we want to retire? And if we do, are we willing to put in the time and the effort to plan for that and to put money aside?
JD Tuccille, Reason Magazine. I want to explore that a little bit more with the idea of retirement. How would you turn to someone that is in, I would say, in their 20s or below, and talk to them about planning for retirement? And what I want to couch that with is we've ended most pension and retirement programs that run through businesses. You do have some 401k, but if you look at things like lack of wage increases and bonuses and regular raises, and you have individuals right now that are struggling to pay for childcare, and they can't afford college for their kids, and one of the core things they can't afford is actually owning a house. How do you talk to those people about the sacrifices they need to make for retirement when they can't pay the bills that they have now? If I'm in my 20s and I'm at a job that I know that I'm not going to get a regular increase of wages, and then over the course of 5 years, I'm going to lose roughly 10% of my purchasing power at the same time that rent and housing prices are out of control, I may never be able to get into a house. How do you convince that person and tell them they need to be putting money aside? They can't put money aside to pay themselves, to feed themselves. How do you possibly assume they're going to pay for retirement?
And that's absolutely true. And the cost of living concerns we've had the last couple of years have made it that much harder. But let's realize that payroll taxes, I mean, that money is already taken out of what we would be earning. So those payroll taxes going into a system that's going to, that's facing collapse and making it much harder to take extra money on top of that and plan for our futures. That said, if you start, the earlier you start, the less you have to put aside year by year. So if you're young right now, if you put anything aside, you're doing yourself a benefit. My son in high school, I made sure that he started a Roth IRA. Not a lot's going to go in his early years. He's in college now. He's not putting anything in there right now. But that money starts adding up long term, the earlier you put it in there. So yeah, you can't put much aside. Now you're young, you don't have a lot of money, you're already worried about what other bills you have to pay. But even a small amount over a long time is going to add up. Don't wait for some point in the future when you're going to have more money. And we can hope that those payroll taxes are finally freed up so that that money can be put into a more realistic investments for our futures too. But any small amount, the earlier you do it, the better off you are.
Now, JD Tuccille, I want to discuss that just a little bit. Let's talk about, are you necessarily better off if you put that small amount of money in early? And what I mean by that is, I want to jump back into the 2008-2009 financial crisis. At the time, there were vast amounts of wealth inside the stock market that was eroded, and it was lost. And those were people's 401ks and retirement plans. Now, the government stepped in, and they made the companies whole. The companies got their money back. Those executives received Christmas bonuses. But the investors who saw the erosion of their retirement never were made whole. Can we still assume that if you invest, especially in stocks, that's the idea, and mutual funds, that money is going to be there, because some of people's experience in 2008, 2009 is it's not.
And that's absolutely true. I mean, what we're talking about is averages over time. And can there be a financial crisis? Yes. But Social Security isn't a guarantee either. Right now, the Social Security trustees say they're going to have to cut benefits back by 21% at least, starting in 2033. So that's a huge haircut right there. So the system that's supposed to be the guarantee isn't a guarantee. So if we save for us and invest for ourselves over time, we're playing an averages game. Over those decades, unless there's a massive financial crash, in which case, okay, we're back trading golds and bullets or something like that. Over the time, you're going to do better if you save for yourself, according to the analyses, independent analyses, than if you rely on the Social Security system. And that's especially true given that the Social Security system is itself saying, this is from the Social Security trustees, that in 9 years they're going to have to take a 21% haircut to everybody's benefits, and then go on from there and see how much more they have to cut after that. So yes, you can have another 2008, 2009. If you're young, you're going to ride that out. If you're old, it's a bigger risk, and yeah, you got to change your plans. But there are no guarantees. I wish there were.
Man, JD Tuccille's joining Jeff and Bill live from Reason Magazine. Dude, you and I could go to a bar and close this down. I got one more question for you, and then I'm going to pass it back over to Jeff. Yep. I want to talk about the retirement and the changes that can be made, and of course, it's Congress that can make these leverages. I want to go back a little bit to the reference I talked about retirement being an outdated concept in America. I'm being a bit facetious, but I think that's where we're looking economically. And what I mean is Congress has to be the ones that would enact any sort of change. However, I did a little bit of math this morning. Right now, 27% of our representatives in the House are over the retirement age in the U.S. 47% of our senators are over retirement age. And they have maybe the sweetest retirement plan on the planet. If they continue to work after retirement age and they have this wonderful golden parachute, how can we ever expect them to enact the changes that are needed by you, myself, Jeff, and our listeners?
And that actually is the big question, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing how the political class always makes sure that they get the best bennies over everybody else. And that's especially true when federal elected office looks like God's waiting room. There's just no way around the fact that politicians have paved their own way to a nest egg. I don't know how you ask Congress to do what it has not done in the past, which is to act responsibly. I know which policies would improve our lives. I look at something like DOGE, which is a Hail Mary pass, the Department of Government Efficiency, which Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are implementing here. It doesn't actually have any enforcement power. It's advisory entirely. It's a Hail Mary pass of a reform effort. But it might actually be the best effort, the best chance we have to change anything, since Congress and the White House have been so resistant to any kind of reform and seem quite content to let disaster roll in, on the assumption that, given that they're so old, they probably won't still be around to see that catastrophe hit the rest of us.
Talking to JD Tuccille, contributing editor at Reason, a new piece out. Go check it out over there. It's titled Social Security Approaches Its Day of Reckoning, and an absolutely fantastic interview. Really appreciate your time today, JD.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
Have
JD Tuccille. Yeah, you guys could go grab a bar.
Oh, could we ever? We could close down a bar. Yeah,
enjoy that.
Oh.
You know where you guys should go?
Where could we go?
You guys would have a great meal over at the Black Eyed Pea. It's locally owned, operated by Steve and Michelle. I love this restaurant. Had the whole kids over there the other day. So good. It's home-style cooking, worth going out for, with 8 locations there's sure to be one near you. When's the last time you took the family to eat at Black Eyed Pea? They've got daily specials. They've got senior discounts. Be sure to check out the new menu items. The stuffed spuds. My daughter got one of them. 8 different delicious baked potatoes. Here's just a few of them. The chopped steak spud, the sweet pork spud, the meatloaf stuffed spud. That's what my daughter got. Loved it. 14-year-old girl. 15-year-old girl. 15-year-old. Got the meatloaf stuffed spud. It was all about it.
It sounds amazing.
And then mine, the broccoli cheese stuffed spud.
Oh, how was that?
There after the show.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the broccoli cheese. So they scoop it out. They put the broccoli in there, kind of steamed, and the cheese on top. What's it like? Talk to me about it, man. I'm hungry.
Bill, I feel like we're going to another level in our relationship here.
Yes, we have to.
Whisper sweet nothings about the broccoli cheese stuffed spud.
I love the stuffed spuds at Black Eyed Pea
Cheesy.
because I love the fact that it's a baked potato, and I love
Yes.
the ingredients they put inside. They've taken everything that's on the plate and they've done it in one little convenient meal where you just put it inside the potato, and it is a wonderful blend of spices and familiar family style cooking, just like mom, if mom was a good cook, just like she used to make, if not whoever's house you slept over with, and you said, hey, your mom can cook, this is fantastic, whatever that is. It's about that home style feeling, and their stuffed spuds are absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely worth a stop. It's yeah.
Here. There's more. Everyone in your party sure to find a favorite there. Make your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. Whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they've got you covered. Keep everything in Colorado. Visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. I love everything about this restaurant, and I know you will as well. Black Eyed Pea, 8 locations all around, some near you. All right, we'll get to your phone calls and texts. Give us a call. Social Security's running out of money. What do you do?
I'm just thinking about a baked potato. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to make you feel happier.
I'm hungry right now.
Oh, my goodness. And do you think,
so good.
We just didn't have time, but do you think Trump has any political will to change it? I don't. 303-696-1971 or visit the Dan Caplis Law Text line 720-819-5115. Your text messages will come right into the studio. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Maybe one of those Black Eyed Peas. Hungry.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
Russia has started mass-producing mobile bomb shelters that can protect against a variety of threats, including shockwaves and radiation from a nuclear blast. The Emergency Ministries Research Institute said the Cub-M shelter could offer protection for 48 hours against these and other natural and man-made hazards. Among those it listed were explosions and shrapnel from conventional weapons, falling debris from buildings, dangerous chemicals, and fires. The Cub-M mobile bomb shelters look like reinforced shipping containers and consist of 2 modules, a room for 54 people and a technical block. They can easily be transported on a truck and connected to water supplies and can also be deployed into Russia's vast northern permafrost. The move has not been linked to any current crisis. However, Ukraine just launched U.S.-provided long-range missiles into Russia. Putin lowered the threshold for nuclear strikes and said he would respond to the latest attack. A former University of Virginia student has pleaded guilty to fatally shooting 3 football players and wounding 2 other students in an attack on campus in 2022. Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. entered his plea in a circuit court in Charlottesville. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and other charges.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just wrapped up a great conversation with JD Tuccille of Reason. Social Security approaches its wrecking day. Don't rely on it. It's running out of money.
Much like my bank
gosh,
account.
I don't know where to go. There's part of me that's just like, well, I guess we're just going to work to the end of our lives, never have enough money, and just be broken, sad, and depressed. And then there's the other part of me that's like, what the crap is wrong with our society? We're $38 trillion in debt. We're spending money like no business could, no family could, no individual ever could. It's wildly reckless. And we're just charging towards a cliff with our kids' money and futures.
Now, my friend, see, the thing is that somehow, what I think you're exactly right. The only thing I think you're missing is the fact that you don't think this is the plan. the plan isn't to make all the rank and file work forever and then make sure that Congress has the golden parachute and they can keep spending the money. Because remember, this is something we talk about when I talk about balanced wealth space. The idea that I did dumb things to myself younger. Yeah, my worldview at that time was, well, that's a problem for older Billy. And well, older Billy's here, and it sucks. So that's the verse. This is going to be a problem for older Americans, and I'm not going to worry about it because they're going to be gone. So yeah, this is the plan, my friend. This is the plan.
Oh boy. Well, let's go to the phone lines. Larry Aurora. Good morning, Larry.
Oh, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. I just want to say, Billy, I appreciate that was one master class, well-balanced interview that you performed.
I have my moments. They're fleeting, but only few.
It was very informative. And what I want to say about, you know, we work hard all life. We're told to work hard all our lives, and we're going to achieve. But what I really appreciated you bringing up the part where the politicians always are going to have the golden parachute for medical, for everything, and retirement, and that's one. And I appreciate you were saying you think this is not planned, but also I want to say the part is I got severely injured at the end of my career, and I had to make a decision. And one of the decisions I did, I took out my 403, and what I did was I paid off my house. Okay. And I said, okay, I need to do that because you can't count on anything, the economy and the world. I said, if I have my house, the only thing they can do is cut off the gas, electricity. I can get that cut back on. And then the other piece is what drives us now. And we're looking at it, we have enough, and they're people having a decent salary, but you're one medical situation from being bankrupt. It's crazy of how what the medical situation is for this country, and it's going to drive. That's what drives everything. So if you have a major operation, or you basically bankrupt.
Oh, dude, Larry, it can go even worse where it can be something that is not your fault. Let's say that you're involved in an accident and it's some sort of a horrible accident where you have all sorts of hospital bills and physical rehabilitation, and the other driver is not insured. There is a constraint on the amount of money that your insurance coverage will carry. And that can be the end of everything that you've worked so hard in your life for. And my friend, I was having a conversation just with John Corbliss, who's running our video this morning. Great guy. And we were talking about exactly this issue about medical coverage, not more than like 120 seconds ago. And he and I came to the conclusion that you want to fix our healthcare system right now, you make it mandatory that every member of Congress has to use the Affordable Care Act. If that's the rule, it'll be changed in a week.
Billy, thank you. Exactly. And I won't take no more time, but that's exactly my sentiment. Come on down and deal with this and see how you like it, because it's really scary for myself and wife, and, anything, we're doing okay, but anything major happening, we got good insurance. But all of a sudden, you paying a house payment again.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't have the income. Larry, thank you so much.
Man, great call.
And I really think this could be something. This is something I would love to have. We always have these reality TV shows. You have like Wife Swap, and you have the Undercover Boss and stuff. No. The reality TV show that we need is, and this is just a week at a time, is it's a week-long show, and you take one member of Congress, and they work a shift at McDonald's, and they have to pay the bills. You have to make it work. Show me how it works. I'm going to give you a minimum wage, 40-hour-a-week job, and your challenge over the week is to make sure you can pay rent, utilities, your medical bills, and feed yourself. Challenge. And then we can give them a little trophy at the end and a nice little ceremony. Yeah, and we can talk about it.
The best way to solve a lot of these spending problems is, and I think this was Milton Friedman's idea, you just tie their salary to a balanced budget. So if they can't balance the budget, Congress doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
That seems, honestly, it seems like it should be in your job description to balance the budget.
Yeah.
And you didn't do it. So you don't get a check from the American people.
Yeah.
That seems easy to me.
And the weird part is that, Jeff, your family has to balance their budget. Mine does. And our listeners, you guys, you have to balance your budget. But the people that we send to Congress, that we put in charge of all these trillions of dollars, don't have to balance squat. And yet we're surprised.
Well, look, if you've got to sell your home, hopefully Larry doesn't have to anytime soon, but if you do, you got to go with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Did you know that last year over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing? This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and getting their sellers 6.1% more money on average. 6.1% more. That's about $30,500 more in your pocket. Gosh, that would be nice now, wouldn't it? They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the services they provide and the results they can get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time at no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Billy.
Sometimes the off-air conversations should be on air. and I
Billy
have to share
and a sock puppet.
Yes, I have to share it with our audience. So there are times, okay, you know that I'm somewhat of an agent of chaos at times, and sometimes the things that fall out of my face are random and different, and often as we get close to coming back on the air, I have a tendency to say something that will just break Jeff in half. Then he's like, "What? I can't believe you just said that." And he just starts, so it's somewhat of a goal too. So I just did one of those as well.
We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights from the right, left, center, all over the place. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole nother hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Bill, you know, they were just talking about tax dollars not being used for this.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Which is a very good thing.
Yes, it is.
In fact, outside of paying Lori Smith and Jack Phillips, I'm not sure I want my tax dollars doing much of anything, but
that's fair.
Jarhead Polis has a new plan for your tax dollars.
Ooh, goody. What could this be? I'm sure it's something that's going to make my life so much better.
You know, I would love our listeners to sit down and list the top 1,000 things facing the state of Colorado, and I guarantee you this is not one of them.
You know what I need? Now, This seems like, you know, a little personal. I just need somebody to pick up their dog poop when they're walking their dog. That's what I need. Personally, but I'm not sure Jared's going to do that.
That would be on the list.
Yes,
of 1,000 things that Colorado needs to address.
Mine would be higher up the list than what Jared's priority is. Oh no, you're scaring me a little bit here.
He wants an 81% increase in the number of bike lanes.
Wait, hang on. Oh, cue the sad trombone. Not the
bike lanes.
Bike lanes.
Have you driven downtown and had to deal with the craziness already of the bike lanes? We need 81% more of them?
What? I don't. How come we can't expand the sidewalks? I'm just curious. Just curious about that. Only because, and again, I'm not saying that necessarily the bikes need to take over the sidewalks, but can't we make them wider? Because when I was a kid, we rode a lot on the sidewalk, and sometimes we'd go up on the grass when someone was coming the other direction. And the reason you rode,
remember the movie Rad?
Yes. Now here's the reason. The reason you didn't ride the bike in the street all the time is because bike versus car, bike lose. Doesn't matter if you're right or not,
dude.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I got friends who run the bike races, all that stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me why people ride their bikes outside when there are cars around. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
But 81% increase, Billy. 80 out of all the stuff that we're dealing with. What is the desire these guys have to turn us into Amsterdam? Because it's not going to happen. We're not pretty enough to be Amsterdam. We don't have
pretty enough.
We don't have we don't have the ladies of the night.
Yes.
We don't have all of the streams and the what are they called? Locks or
also we have a lot
canals. Canals was the road I was.
We have a lot more geography. We are a much much bigger place. So
people don't come to Colorado to walk around the city. They go to Red Rocks. They go up to Vail. They run mountain. They need cars to do it.
Yeah, that's okay. And here's the reason why I believe at the core, the fundamental principle of all the liberals that want to turn U.S. cities into a copycat of European cities. There's a really example, and I'm being a bit facetious here, but here's the example, and it has to do with my love of music and concerts. And here's the example. Concert goer in the U.S. versus concert goer in Europe.
Yeah, good point.
Here's the example. So concert goer in the U.S. goes, dude, Jeff, have you heard, man? Van Halen is coming. They are going to be here. We are going to get there. I've got the hookup for front row. We're going to spend this next weekend. We're going to drive 3 hours. We're going all the way, man, to Vegas, and we are going to see Van Halen front row. And then we do the beer thing. Now you're in England or you're in Europe, and you're going to do that. Dude, Van Halen is coming. We're going to drive 3 hours too. Your friend's going to go, shut up. I'm not going to France for a Van Halen show. You're an idiot. Because in 3 hours, a drive in Europe, you can cross several countries. In 3 hours, you can get to Vegas. Come on. That's the problem. That is the fundamental disconnect with trying to make our cities bikeable cities. I'm not saying it's not a nice aspirational goal, but it cannot happen because you're not driving 3 hours for a concert in France.
Dude,
that's
and
the deal.
The amount of text messages I got on this from people from San Diego where they did this, and they're like, at best, even on a sunny day, you maybe see 40 people ride a bike on a bike lane, and yet we're spending all this money to try to do it. And the other thing that bothers me crazy about this, and we got to get to the news, and then we've got Joel, we're going to talk to you here in a second. But like, this is when government tries to force something that the people aren't asking for.
Yeah.
Like, there's no giant demand. There's no, gosh, we have 500 people that ride their bikes to work. Maybe we should create some bike lanes. Rather than responding to demand, they're trying to create it. And it's just not there. So we'll get to that in a second.
That is the brilliance. That is why I so enjoy doing the show with you, because right there you have perfectly encapsulated it. This is a supply and demand issue.
Yeah.
There is not the demand for 81% more bike lanes in Denver. You know what there's a demand for? 81% more charging stations for EVs. That would be a better use of the space, the money, and the time to make it easier for some people who have chosen EVs to make sure they can get charged. That could be efficient. But no, you're exactly right, my friend. The demand isn't there, and the government's trying to force it.
Well, Joel's going to join us in a second, but first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Use it on pavement. Okay, thank you. All the money just go to
the
pavement.
roads, dude.
Yeah, let's
it's
just do that.
amazing to me how easy I think it could be to be a political leader.
Yeah.
And how complicated they always make it.
Oh,
right.
yeah,
Like,
it's
just
like-
fix
it's like
the
that.
roads.
Yeah.
Like, if I was the
absolutely.
governor, I'd be like, I'm not going to do anything unless there's an emergency. Here's my cell phone. I'm
like
not
a
going to come up with
sitcom.
anything that actually makes your lives any better. So,
Right. Absolutely. Right there with you.
There's my
Supply
cell
and
phone.
demand.
Yeah.
34 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 54 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, DIA is expecting increased holiday travel this year. The airport says over 844,000 passengers are expected to travel through security between tomorrow and December 2nd. The number marks a nearly 8% increase from last year. The trial of the Aurora dentist, James Craig, accused of poisoning and killing his wife, is set to get underway today. Jury selection in the trial is expected to be completed by next week. That Douglas County School District bus driver who dropped kids off at the wrong location has been fired. The driver allegedly dropped them off more than 2 miles away from the school and several miles away from where the children lived. In a letter to the parents, the school district said there was confusion from the substitute bus driver in charge of driving the route, and that's not going to fly.
No, it's not. And the reports of the kids coming through about them trying to tell the bus driver, him not caring, he essentially kidnapped them. It looks like,
God, that's frightening.
From what it looks like so far, I think there should be some criminal charges brought. But look, we always knew that some of the bus drivers were a little off, but this is like a whole nother level of being off.
I'm surprised we don't hear more of this. I really am.
Need Miss Crabtree from South Park. That's
right.
or
I'm
that
right there
Chris
with
Farley
you.
from Billy Madison,
Yes.
just like losing his mind.
No
They threw
doubt.
sandwiches at him.
Thank God the kids are okay. JD Tuccille, contributing editor from Reason On with the fellas last hour, talking social security. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. Of course, we're getting ripped off. We'd be better off saving for ourselves.
What would happen if you were to take those same money that's been paid in payroll taxes and people put that into 401ks or IRAs and save for their own retirement? And they found that in all but 4 out of the 400 cases that they analyzed across different ranges of income, people would do better saving for themselves. The 4 cases where Social Security turned out better were for the most lowest income, that is the very poor, which means that Social Security would probably work best as poor relief. Just keeping the people who are the lowest income out of poverty. Everybody else would actually have a more prosperous retirement if they were to save for themselves.
And Stephen Moore, Ukraine Freedom Project, who goes back and forth to Ukraine from here in Colorado, also on with Jeff and Billy a couple of hours ago. And he talked about the intercontinental ballistic missile that was fired at Ukraine this morning, compliments of Russia. It was aimed at the city of Dnipro.
I hope they send more of those because those are really expensive missiles, man. They've got missiles that are a few $100,000 do just the same thing, but because they're trying to make a show of it, because they're trying to make us believe that they're weapons at us, they sent an ICBM, and those things cost about $15 million a pop. I've heard up to $80 million. So send more of those instead of the $500,000 missiles you usually send. And because the opportunity here is to bankrupt Russia.
Point taken. The House Ethics Committee investigation into former Congressman Matt Gaetz will remain sealed. The panel's ranking Democrat said the vote on whether to disclose the findings was split along party lines. DJT's pick for Attorney General has been accused of sexual misconduct. Representative Anna Paulina Luna says it's all a smear campaign.
So what you're finding now is the same thing that they did to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, is there are these conveniently timed anonymous sources that are reporting things. And I'm hoping that these senators who largely depended on President Trump's coattails to get elected will do the right thing, give Representative Gaetz a fair shot at the confirmation.
And no shocker, Nikki Haley, who loves senseless wars, ripping Trump's picks, Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard. Incoming border czar Tom Homan has something called common sense. The Lake and Riley murder, once again, is a reminder of the criminals flooding through our southern border on Fox last night.
It could have been prevented. This young lady's dead. And I want every mayor, every governor of a sanctuary jurisdiction to listen to that tape, listen to this young girl fight for her life, fight for her breath, trying to survive, terrified. Think of I want you to understand what she went through. Like the 9-year-old boy, that 5-year-old boy in the back of the tractor trailer that I held, I found him dead, that baked to death. Mm-hmm. I thought about what the last hour of his life was like. You need to listen to this tape. And for those governors and mayors that are saying they're going to stop Tom Homan, they're going to stop President Trump, shame on you. Your responsibility is protect your communities. And that's what we want to do, is protect your community.
And Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says he's going to try to stop them from doing their job. Great. How's about you leave with Ellen DeGeneres? She moved to England and doesn't plan on coming back. See you later, Ellen.
Hey, so long. See you.
Yeah, get him out.
Oh, it's a good day when I hear that. Broncos quarterback Bo Nix named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's 32 in Parker, 30 in Broomfield, 34 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue to have a great Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Fair weather and high pressure will be in control here for a bit, so some nice weather here in the Front Range. Denver will see temperatures in the upper 50s to low to mid-60s today and tomorrow. A little bit deeper into the 60s Saturday, so above average temperatures, sunny to partly sunny skies, and nice weather for the next 3 days. Increasingly cloudy, cooler Sunday. Sunday night and the Monday could bring a chance of developing snow showers and colder. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I talk about him all the time because he's the living representation that QC Kinetix is actually working. Joel from The Office.
Wow.
How are you, Joel?
That's a hell of an intro. We run our office just like The Office.
Yeah, that's right. We do have an office that's just like The Office. Who's Dwight around here? Kind of, I think Billy. Billy's got some Dwight edginess to him.
Oh, yes.
Some random facts, like he skinned a goose, earlier this week or something like that.
I got a little Dwight. I can admit that, yes.
Joel, so I wanted to bring you in because we talk about QC Kinetix. We talk about the fact you're playing more golf than you've ever played before. You told me that one time. I was
Yeah.
like, man, that's awesome.
And Jeff, I had a little back injury about 1.5 years ago. And it kind of limited my ability, range of motion, things like that.
Yeah.
And when you actually signed on with QCK earlier this year, I was thinking about stopping in and talk to the consultants and see if they could help me out, because the next step for me was probably surgery. And as everyone says, that's the one surgery you don't want to have, because once you open a knife for a back, you're going in it under again. So I went back, talked to the consultants, Jen and the team, and came away convinced that this treatment could actually help me out. With the regenerative medicine that they've done with me, it's allowed me to get back out to playing more golf, walking courses as opposed to riding, playing more tennis with my daughter, and doing things I haven't been able to do. Before I was playing golf or playing tennis, I have to lather up with Bengay or Aspirin or something, drop some Advil for the first night at the back 9, and then I was useless the rest of the day.
Yeah.
After going through this procedure, I'm able to walk 9 or 18 holes and go home and cut grass. And it's just changed my life.
That's like life-changing.
Completely life-changing. And I would recommend people going and getting a consultation. It's a free consultation, and see if it's best for you.
But what's the procedure? Like, so we're not talking surgery. What is it then?
Well, they regenerate your cells. They just draw blood, spin it out, get the good cells out, and inject it back into your body. And my problem was that the gel between your disc was going away. It was deteriorating. And the whole purpose for the treatment is try to regenerate those cells and strengthen it back up so that you're not getting closer to bone on bone.
Bone on bone,
and,
right. Did they inject it like right in the spine there area?
Let's not be too graphic. It'll scare people.
No. But I mean, like I'm interested in
it's
like,
into the area where they're
the
trying
area
to
where it needs help, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And like I said, it's not for everyone, but it helped me. And it's worth a conversation.
Here's where I think it could be very helpful for folks is if you reach a point where you have to do surgery, sometimes it's too late, right? I had a family member just had a knee replaced over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to that point, you get a knee replaced,
mm-hmm.
the response and the work to try to get back in the physical therapy. I mean, you're not signing up for a day procedure. You're looking at 6 months of recovery,
or longer.
Hard work, once you've reached that level.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I understand you get to that point, QC Kinetix may not be the right solution for you. We're talking about before that, like it's starting to hurt. You're not as active as you used to be. You can take steps now that are as simple
mm-hmm.
as just getting some blood drawn that can spare you months, if not years, of surgery and recovery and having to take drugs and rehab and all that stuff by simply just getting some blood drawn.
Yeah. And you know what? Most medical facilities are treating symptoms. They're not treating the cause. And what QCK is trying to do is treat the cause, find out the root cause of your problem and try to treat that. Because if you keep treating the symptoms, they're only going to get worse over time because your body is just breaking down. And once you start treating the cause of those symptoms, now you're beginning to see some results. And QCK does a great job with that. Friendly staff, clean offices, great neighborhoods. And like I said, I would recommend it for anyone. Go have a conversation. If it's right for you, jump on board because they've changed my life.
That's powerful. So here's some of the treatments that QC Kinetix offers. They've got pain relief, weight loss, men's health, hair regeneration. Here are all the different conditions they can treat. Knee pain, shoulder pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, lower back pain, hip pain, ankle pain, joint pain, even weight loss, arthritis-related pain, finger and toe pain, foot and hand pain, tendon and ligament pain, even got hair regeneration and testosterone. So, my goodness.
Hair regenerative Billy, listen up.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is great that they can provide these types of services without the cutting, without the drugs that are necessary. So when you go in, what's the process like?
It takes roughly about 30 minutes. You go in, you check in, they draw your blood, give them about 5 minutes for them to spin it out. They inject it, and you're out the door. It's very quick. If you're afraid of needles, don't worry that they numb your skin so you don't really feel it. But it's a quick, easy procedure. And like you said, you start feeling results in a couple of days.
Wow. And how old are you, Joel?
You really want me to say
I
that?
do want to know.
67.
Are you?
Black
really?
don't crack bill.
I mean, you look great. You're 67.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you an athlete?
Yes.
What'd you play?
Baseball.
Yeah, you look really good.
What position? What was your position, sir?
Infield, second base, and shortstop.
Oh, like my favorite. Wasn't Ozzie Smith
yes,
a shortstop for? We were talking about because you're from St. Louis.
Yeah.
He was with the Cardinals, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He was like the best back then.
And for me, second and short is that's the keystone to the entire infield, and also it is the bulwark in front of the outfield, because in many ways that's the pivot point. And if people talk about in soccer, they're pivot players that collect the ball and then move it along and keep the offense moving. It's much like a point guard inside of basketball. Now it's odd because baseball is the one thing where the team on offense doesn't have the ball, when defense has the ball. So it's a weird juxtaposition, but you've got to have the solid skills and especially the decision making at second and short, or you are toast.
That the smartest positions in the game: catcher, shortstop, center field.
So what's the most difficult thing about second and short when you're playing? What's the thing that if you're talking to young skulls of mush that are possibly baseball players listening to the show right now, or parents, what advice can they give to their kids to excel at that position?
Practice hand-eye coordination. That's the most important thing, because you get tricky hops with the different types of fields they have nowadays. You have artificial turf infield, you've got dirt infields. You got to be able to read hops, and if you got great hand-eye coordination, good chances you'll succeed.
So in other words, we're talking about the Dodgeball movie. So if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Right. You probably are getting.
You don't want to run away from the ball.
I'm getting served all these ads from Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. Phil about this little thing you wear around your head, and it has a red ball, and you punch it to support your hand-eye coordination as you get older.
That seems like a dare that they said, hey, I bet we can get these idiots to buy this. now, Joe,
not nearly as tested as QC Kinetix.
Now, Joe, I want to talk to you about what did it feel like when you're going through the playing days, and then now as you got older, you started to feel those aches, those pains. What was it like going from that athletic younger Joel into the older Joel, and what were the things that you stopped doing yourself because of those daily aches and pains and just not being able to move as much?
Well, that's why you take up golf.
You
take up tennis. You have to find something else to keep your mind occupied. And I miss playing ball like tremendously. I actually ran into a buddy of mine that used to play baseball with me 30 years ago. And he actually lives in Denver. And we were just reminiscing last night about when we were playing ball together. But we were back in the era where baseball was all there was in St. Louis. That's what you gravitated to. And that's why St. Louis is considered one of the smartest baseball towns in America, because we lived, breathed, and died baseball. The Whitey Herzog era. I don't mean to make the Denverites upset, but 11 championships. So we kind of know baseball inside and out.
You made it to one.
Sucks. So yeah, you guys are great. And you got one of our best players to go over there and play with you guys for some time.
Maybe trading him though. So,
oh man,
he's going downhill a little bit.
Oh geez. Now, do you still feel most athletes say that, like good football players say, hey, I got about 5-6 plays in me on a soccer field. I got about 5 minutes. Do you still have a good inning in you? Do you think you go out there and just for an inning, you can still throw down?
I probably still got to get 5 in me.
Ooh, look at that.
Better than Mike Tyson. He lasted one round.
Now, when we're going back into the QC Kinetix, talk to me about the very first time you went through the treatment and what was it like? What was different in your life post procedure at QC Kinetix? What did you experience? And then what were you having, the 2 or 3 weeks beforehand that you then weren't experiencing after?
One of the issues I was having with my back was I wasn't able to stand for long periods of time without leaning on something or having something to assist me standing up. And that started going away. Just taking walks without feeling a little pinch in your back or the strength of your back. I found myself standing a little bit more erect. So those things you saw fairly quickly, because now I'm getting the range of motion I didn't have before.
Now, my family members that got knee replaced were in their 70s. You're in your 60s. This is giving you new life. And when you're in your 60s, you got a good another 30, 40 years. So, I mean, it's worth doing, right? Right? I mean, you're going to have a long time of your life. You might as well enjoy it. QC Kinetix can provide that type of relief.
Absolutely. Like I said, give the team a call. Like I said, it's not for everyone. But if you're at the point in your life where you're thinking about surgery, or if you're trying to extend your active lifestyle, give QC Kinetix a call.
Got children, grandchildren, enjoying those years of taking walks with your wife, playing golf, playing tennis. QC Kinetix is absolutely an option worth exploring. Here's their phone number, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or just go to qckinetix.com. That's Q as in Queen, C, Kinetix.com, and they can list all the different services they can provide there. Great supporters of the show, not only supporting what we do here on the Jeff and Bill show, but actually improving the lives of the guys we work with. It's awesome. And look, I ran cross country, ran track. I'm an ultra runner now. I believe in this wholeheartedly, that it's all about motion. You got to keep the joints lubricated up. You stop running, you stop walking, things get stiffer. It's all about movement. Keep going. That's going to help. My mom believes in it too. She's swimming she's in her mid-70s, swims every single day still. You got to keep moving. QC Kinetix can help you. Here's their phone number one more time, 303-900-8986, with locations in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and the Springs. QC Kinetix, improving the lives of folks in our lives like Joel. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill show to share some of that.
Yeah,
anytime,
thank you.
guys.
We love Joel around here.
Yeah,
if it wasn't for Joel, Bill and I wouldn't get paid.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't at all. Yeah, we love Joel. He does such good work.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that he's feeling better, because you can see, again, just in the time that he's been here, you can see a change since he's been working with them in just his demeanor around the office, how he moves around the office, and just the interaction. You can see that he's feeling better, because you know how that is. Everyone that's been there has had that daily pain, understands how that changes your worldview and impacts even how you deal with your office workers, your friends, and your families. Sometimes you're a little more grouchy, not because they've done something wrong, but because your body's doing something wrong.
Yep, that's
we got
right.
a fix for you.
That's right. QC Kinetix, check them out. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Jennifer Rubin, a columnist for The Washington Post, says that Democrats need to change their messaging and tell people that, quote, Republicans want to kill your kids. She made the comments on her podcast this week, also saying that President Donald Trump's cabinet nominees need to pay a political price.
You can't talk broad themes. You have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids. It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research, if you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools, well, then you are responsible.
Ford is cutting its workforce by 4,000 in Europe and the UK by the end of 2027, citing economic hardships and weaker than expected sales of electric vehicles. Ford said most of the job cuts would come in Germany and would be carried out in consultation with employee representatives. The company said that it would also reduce working time for employees at its Cologne, Germany plant, where it makes the Capri and Explorer electric vehicles. A former University of Virginia student has pleaded guilty to fatally shooting 3 football players and wounding 2 other students in an attack on campus in 2022. Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. entered his plea in a circuit court in Charlottesville.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Wyo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, so I think I want to say Jennifer Rubin. She used to be a Republican. Jennifer Rubin of Washington Post has a new strategy for the Democrats to win back voters. Just prepare yourself for this.
They need a strategy, so we got to hear this. Hear this out. I'm curious.
There you go.
You can't talk broad themes. You have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids. It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research, if you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools, well, then you are responsible for kids' health and death, unfortunately. It has to be that simple and that direct, and it has to be over and over and over again.
Okay, that took a dark turn. That's not where I thought we were
Republicans want to kill your kids.
How's that going to look on a sign or a T-shirt? I don't. What the? Ow. Jennifer.
All right. So
we have to start with stupid ideas from Mayor Mike Johnston, Denver, and then we're going to close with stupid ideas from Jennifer Rubin.
All right. So which way do we go? There's so many different angles.
And so much stupid.
My friends over at Focus on the Family had a response being like, so Democrats, abortion,
exactly.
Do we want to go that direction on who really wants to kill kids?
Dude, my friend, as soon as she said the killing thing, the first thing that popped in my mind is abortion.
Yeah, right.
Just because of the crap.
So, but there's lots of areas to plow there. And I'll let Focus on the Family. They did a great job, by the way. Jim Daly just responded being like, Republicans? Really? Republicans. So, but here's where I want to go with this. Jennifer Rubin cannot understand why she lost the election. And part of the reason why people voted against all of the things she talks about is not her language. It's not her messaging. It's that we don't like you. We don't like the way you think. We don't like the way you demean people. We don't like the way you come out. And this was Jennifer Rubin with the Washington Post, used to be a Republican. And she's just been put on this pedestal because she did that. I was a Republican. Now will pay me checks to bash Republicans.
Wait, there's a check for that?
There is.
I used to be a Republican.
Yes.
Wait,
Bill, I think in part you collect a check here in part because of that.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, you're not. You don't run out there like they do.
Not like that. Yeah.
No.
That pays more though. I'm just saying. An open opportunity.
Dude, she comes across as just the most miserable, unlikable person. And then she says, well, I'm going to point out that all your policies are killing people. That's the winning message over the next 4 years. That's not a winning message. Keep going with that. And we're going to continue to vote you types of people, Jennifer Rubin, out of influence, out of office, because you're miserable people we don't like. You're not a likable person.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
This is an awful set of recommendations. That is stupid on its face to make the statement the Republicans are trying to kill your kids, or the Republicans are killing your kids, making it active. Yeah,
I mean, you can criticize someone's policies and go, look, because of this, these kids are going to die. No. What she used was the Republicans want to kill your kids.
And I appreciate that. And I'm going to have to make a note of that one. The idea of want, because again, that is intent. And this is an intentional act that they are undertaking. And again, we had a conversation prior to the election about Donald Trump and his authoritarian tendencies. It was a fair conversation, but what we disagreed on with the national media was that they continued to push that as a label. It can be an examination, but standing there saying Donald Trump is Hitler, Donald Trump is going to this, Donald Trump is the end of democracy. Democrats had that work out.
Exactly.
How did that work out for you based on messaging? So you think murder is going to be the better message?
Right. Well, and part of it is because nobody believes you, right?
Yes.
And we pointed this out with Joe Biden welcoming Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like if Donald Trump is literally a fascist Hitler who's going to take over, ruin democracy, you're never going to have a vote again, literally wants to kill your kids.
Yeah. You're not going to say your table's right over here.
Into the White House.
You're not going to say your table's over here, Adolf. Come on in. It's not going to happen. That will not happen. And that's her problem is Jennifer could have outlined things like, here's the danger to your children based on who they're putting in charge. RFK Jr. believes this. Matt Gaetz, as far as law enforcement, does this. Tulsi Gabbard is weak on this because of this. Dr. Oz is a mess because of this. Hegseth can't get the Department of Defense in order because of this. Here's the threat to us as a society. But she decided to go with murder. Again, how's that gonna look on a t-shirt? And I think that's the problem. Is I think that she is preaching to the choir, and it is not a message that will ever persuade anybody outside of her own personal anger tent.
It's that DC Washington Post bubble. I get why you it was done with them and just walked off.
I still say you got to go in there and keep fighting, man, because that's where the fun
Billy,
is.
you will always keep fighting. That's true.
I will.
Look, for many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. Best of all, it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. Look, we've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. Believe me, they advertise to me on Instagram all the time. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair regrowing permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. And look, this matters if family members do this. Entered the dating pool a little bit later in life. You know, women are looking for that youthful energy. And not only did it help them look better, but they felt better, and it brought back that energy, and things are great for them. Check out Advanced Hair. They're the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. What do you think of this strategy from the Democrat? Well, it's not the Democrats, from Washington Post, former Republican Rhino I wouldn't even put her in the Republican category anymore, but saying that the winning strategy to defeat Republicans in the future is Republicans want to kill your kids. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Calling your
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
A Keurig K-Supreme Plus Smart Serve coffee maker valued at $200. Get it now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Look, do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Bottom line, we got to produce good people if we want them to lead our government. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. All right. So Jennifer Rubin, Washington Post, in an effort to tone down the rhetoric and bring people together, bridge the gaps.
Yeah, bridge the gaps.
Said that the new messaging to defeat Republicans moving forward is Republicans want to kill your kids.
She's about the happy talk.
Let's go to Scott Littleton. Good morning, Scott. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, morning.
Good morning. First off, I've been listening to y'all since about 7 this morning. This has been one of the greatest radio shows I've heard in years today. Between your talk between each other and the guests you've had on, just fantastic.
Oh, Scott, that's awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. And who's killing more kids? The Democrats. I believe so because fentanyl is probably the number one killer of children right now in the nation. And since the Democrats have opened up the border, they're responsible completely for it, fentanyl coming into this country. And also some of the illegal aliens, certainly not all of them, but if you had 10 come in, you probably might have one that's committing murder on someone, and probably another one that is probably doing some other gross things to children.
Dude, Scott, I didn't think, Scott, of going
the
the fentanyl direction with that based on the harm to children. That is a surprise to me, but I applaud you for it. That's a good point. It's a really good point. That's a strong point, man.
Yeah. Great work, you guys. I've enjoyed it.
Hey, give us a call, man.
Scott,
thanks for listening.
really appreciate it.
That was interesting. I didn't think he was going to necessarily go that direction, but I think he's got a really strong point about with the open borders, what happens with the drug trafficking.
Kills more kids.
Yeah.
That was an easy one for me to answer, but if that's the way we're going to go with messaging,
yeah, that's where
I
we
don't
end.
think it's Jennifer Rubin is actually winning anybody over to her
No,
side on that.
not at
All right. If you missed any part of the show, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. Charlie Kirk's up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a great day.